All right. Oh, thank you. Terrific. Well, let's get started. This is a combination of how to lead your business and your teams during crisis, challenge, and change. Now, we've had a lot of that. I'm going to try to go through this entire program without actually talking about the you-know-what, which has impacted so many people. Many folks have differentiated themselves because they accelerated into the curve. Many others differentiated themselves because they did not. And in fact, the difference between a professional race car driver and you is a professional race car driver knows that when they're coming up on the curve, they need to accelerate into the curve. When everyone else is nervous, when other people are taking their foot off the gas, professional drivers know they have to accelerate into the curve. They trust the banking, they know the angles, and they understand that that is what is going to give them a competitive advantage. So today I want to talk to you about how you are creating your competitive advantage. And some people say, well, what in the world does a former naval person know anything about business? And that's a really good question. So just a couple highlights, and thank you so much, Joe, for the very kind introduction. I am the 56th most influential economist in the world. That is about 30% of the business I do. When things are going great in the economy, nobody cares. When things are getting a little bit tougher, all of a sudden people start listening to the economists. And unfortunately, that's also when we say, well, I started telling you what to do about a year and a half ago. And then people say, but I didn't pay attention a year and a half ago. And then this is why we got into the situation we got today. I did a lot of intelligence work in the military. And now I do a lot of business intelligence work. So it's kind of the same. In the military intelligence world, as you all know, the whole idea is to look at the information you have and then predict the movements of other people. It's all about predicting what's going to happen. And in the business world, this is absolutely what we have to pay attention to. So some of the content you're going to get today is coming from a book called 15 Ways to Grow Your Business in Every Economy. This came out, it did pretty well. There are 15 points in it. I have condensed those points. Some of the other things we're talking about today are coming out of this book. This is the 12-month Business Growth and Accountability planner. You're getting that for free today. One of the other things you're getting in the vault, it's a planner called How to Create Your Dream Life. It sounds very woo-hooey for the engineers in the room. Creating your dream life sounds like something that's very fluffy, and that's not it. It is all about taking the action steps to get to where you are, to get from where you are to where you want to be. So that's included in that as well. So right now, as leaders, we have to see what other people do not. We have to see, ladies and gentlemen, beyond just the tip of the iceberg. It's not the tip of the iceberg that sank the Titanic. It's the rest of the iceberg that got in the way of the ship. And as leaders, we have to see what other people do not see. And this is where many people are very content to see just the tip of the iceberg. It's also why they did not accelerate into the curve. When times got tough, you know what they did? They threw up their hands and they said, oh, I'll just do nothing. And they rolled over like a cockroach. In Texas, we get lots of cockroaches and they're very large, and they roll on their back. And a lot of people did that. They stopped taking positive action. So we've got to have a plan, so let's get a plan. When we think about a plan, and it is time to plan, many people are muddling through day to day and they're staying busy, but they're not necessarily getting the results they want to get. And as senior business leaders, we need to be cognizant of what's going on around us, what's going to be a problem for our business, and we have to look at what other businesses are doing as well. So John Chambers, who is the former CEO of Cisco Systems, and for you, this is the computer company, not the food company. He said back in January, he said, you know, our top concerns as CEOs back in January was the talent shortage was number one, and then the pandemic, and then supply chain disruptions, and then inflation, and then cybersecurity, and then political instability was somehow down by number 6. Just a few short months later, political instability is top of the list, followed by cybersecurity. And the reason that is tied together is because we have seen cyber attacks accelerate by over 40 times just in the past 6 months. 40 times, concerted attacks. Now, if you're a business like LifeLock or somebody like that who's protecting individuals' identity theft, your business has never been better. If you're a business like Cohesity, where your business is derived from making sure that if your financial institution gets hacked, that you're back up and running in just a matter of hours instead of months. This is a huge, huge issue. And we do know that a lot of the cybersecurity concerns are being sponsored by state activities. So we know that. Inflation is number 3, and this is rising. Now, this is CEO concerns. Most CEOs are like, oh, the price of gas has gone up, so what? But for their people, this inflation issue is a very, very real issue. Right now, we know that the average wages in the United States have gone up since a year ago by 5.6%. The inflation numbers came out this week at 8.6%. So there's that 3% delta where all of a sudden we might be getting paid more, but we're paying more taxes on that money, and we're not able to buy what we used to buy. And as Americans, several of you have lived overseas. As Americans, we don't measure things in liters or the metric system because it confuses us. We measure things we can measure by gallons. We know how much a gallon of milk costs. The national average right now is $4.33, and a gallon of gas, which is right under $5. This is how we measure things. So when we think about inflation, it's not just food and energy and transportation. It is everything else. And you're in the travel business, you know that airline costs have gone up by over 70% from their low during the you-know-what time. Now, we also know that the way the airline health is, it is the canary in the coal mine. We need healthy airlines. They are 5% of our nation's GDP, and they employ 11 million people. So we need healthy airlines. For your clients right now, sir, I'm going to tell you, encourage them to buy plane tickets now, because airline tickets are going up by 8% a year until the 1st of September. And then they're going to level off a little bit, but then we're going to get into the holiday season. So your message to them is buy tickets now. And then the supply chain disruption, and then the talent shortage is way down here. You know it's not even close? The pandemic. Even though right now we have 6 times more nationwide COVID cases than we had a year ago. But it's not on people's radars, because the way viruses work is as they mutate, they get stronger and then they get weaker. So now we've got all these events where afterwards the meeting planner says, hey, we had a couple people test positive for COVID, just heads up, but nobody's getting that sick, which is the great news about this. Nobody's too worried about that anymore. So as CEOs, this is their concern. Moving into the summer, inflation's going to flop to the top, followed again by cybersecurity. The political instability, now that we know that this Russian war into Ukraine is not temporary, now it's kind of not on the front page anymore. We're like, oh, well, that's not so much our problem. Every November, I publish what I think businesses need to know going into the next year. Again, it's that prognostication that we need to pay attention to. So just a very short summary of what this looks like, because this is going to be an interactive session today, and I want to make sure that we are covering and addressing the things that are most important to you. So last November, I actually wrote it in October, and then it got published in November. I said businesses can expect 6 trends. First off, there's going to be higher prices for globally and locally sourced resources. Yeah. Increased costs for salaries and wages, and as employees need to keep up with inflation. So something on that. First, you can't keep your top employees if you are treating your top employees the same way you're treating your bottom employees. It's just not going to work. So as businesses start to get squeezed because resources are more expensive, what they're going to have to do is look really carefully at their entire workforce, which is about 64% of their overall costs. And they're going to say, you know what? You know who's not really pulling their weight? Bob. Bob is not pulling his weight. Bob's gone. We need to save that salary so that we can give it to Terry, because Terry's doing an awesome job. And we want to keep the people we want to keep. And that means we're going to have to pay them more. But it doesn't mean we pay everybody more. It means we have to pay our top talent more. And with an unemployment rate of 3.6%, what this means is that unemployment rate is going to rise in the next 12 months. Now, the good news for that is there will be more labor available for you to hire. And some people, as we know, are voluntarily leaving their jobs. That's the Great Resignation. We'll get to that. But right now, in order to be economic, more businesses are going to be looking at some of those people who were working from home but maybe not working that hard, or maybe they came back to the office and they're still not working that hard, and they're going to have to look at this. So we know we've got significant competition for top talent. Think about hiring the best possible people for your organization. This is the theory of efficiency wages. The theory of efficiency wages says hire the best people you possibly can, pay them as much as you possibly can, and they will return that to you in both loyalty to you and the organization, as well as being more productive. So it makes kind of good sense. So let's say, I'm sorry, can I get your name? Erin. Hi, Erin. Very nice to see you. And what's your name? Laura. Great. Laura and Erin. I'm going to use both of you as good examples. So Laura, I am paying you $75 an hour. Sounds good? Just say yes. Okay, good. Yeah. So this is the audience. This is that point where we do audience interactivity, whether you want it or not. And as a former teacher, I just need to let you know, you people in the back, that when I look at you and you look down, I can still see you. I can still see you. So now, Erin, I'm paying you $12 an hour. Okay? So now you feel a little bit sad because you know she's making 75, but let's say you don't know that. So let's say it's Saturday, and I want you, Erin, to do 4 hours of work. But you were planning on going to play tennis and pickleball with some of your friends. And so you're thinking, well, $48, that doesn't sound that great. But if I call you and I say, hey, can you do 4 hours of work for me on a Saturday? Boom. Yeah, that's $300. The answer is heck yes. This is why the theory of efficiency wages works. Because people are incentivized to do what it is you need them to do. And moving forward, folks, we are going to see significant competition for this top talent, the way coaches are able to recruit players. And we're going to see that. We're going to see more resignations as the baby boomers look at their 401ks, their IRAs, and their SEP plans and say, you know what? Peace out. It is not worth the hassle anymore. I'm willing to do the job. I'm just not willing to do the hassle. That the administration or the bureaucracy or my first line supervisors have made it so difficult for me to be productive, I'm out of here. Now, the loss of the baby boomers in the job market is significant. Now, we're going to see continued employee transitions as workers believe that the grass somehow is greener somewhere else. And we're filming this today in Colorado, where grass has a totally different meaning. So when we talk about the grass being greener, you have to make your workforce be the greener pasture. And you have to help people see that. Remote work is here to stay in certain areas. It does not work for everybody. What business leaders need to know is, as business leaders, when times are tough, and a lot of you already know this, people need more of you. They need more. They need more communication, they need it more specific, they need more direction, they need more reminders, more. And what you're thinking is, but Mary, I'm tired. I can't do more. I know. Do it anyway. Make a list. Instead of sending out an email with all kinds of events that are coming up for the next 6 months, don't do that. Say, here's what's happening next week. And for planning purposes, here's what's happening further in the future. And then send out another email. Hey, for your planning calendar, this is what's coming down in the next 6 months. Make emails easier and more targeted so that people are paying attention to the emails. And use your subject headers as the valuable real estate it is. One of the worst, I mean, we're friends, and a lot of times we'll send an email to each other. I'll be like, hey, Pam, it's Mary checking in. That is a terrible, terrible email header. No, Pam is going to be like, oh, okay, I don't have to pay attention to that. Mary's just checking in. But if I say, in the header, I use 3 different parts of the header. The first word I always use is a verb that tells Pam what to do with my email. I use a DICE system. The Air Force, by the way, initiated this. The rest of us were supposed to adopt it. We mostly didn't. So I've shortened it and changed it for the business world. DICE. The very first word is what the recipient does with that email. Decide, information, coordination, execute, or act. Decaw doesn't have the same term as dice. Dice is solid. Dice makes sense. But in the very first word, if somebody sends me an email and the very first word is decide, I know that I'm holding up the train unless I make a decision. The I is info. That means, Mary, you can get to it later over a glass of wine when you get time. No big deal. My team is like, hey, you just need to know this. Coordination means reply all. Hit reply all, coord or coordinate, and that means we're all in this together. And then execute or act, we just use exe, kind of like an exe file on your computer. People are familiar with that. And then a dash. That means that's your job. Now, the second component to that is the topic of the email. For example, let's say my team says, Mary, decide on navy blue and gold napkins for the event at the Pinery with the chamber by Thursday, the 4th of May. So now I know what the topic is, and I know that there's a deadline. Folks, people respond to deadlines. You want your people to do something, give them a deadline. Let's be honest. Did you ever write a paper the night before? Looking at you, sir. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. I taught school, like I said, for 30 years, and I was always surprised when my students would wander in on a Monday morning when papers were due in November, and they've had that assignment since August, and yet they are bleary-eyed, tired, and overstimulated on caffeine and monster drinks. And I would ask them, I would say, why do you wait until the night before to write a paper? And they would say, oh, but Dr. Kelly, we do our best writing the night before. I said, no, you do your only writing the night before. How would you know the difference? So for many of us, we need to give people deadlines because they will work to deadlines. And then that valuable real estate, remember, over 50% of us do our emails on our phone. So make it easy for them to triage their email. That's good leadership. So increase your touch points. Be proactive and strategic about managing supply chain delays. You know what happens when you're disappointing a customer? You kind of don't want to tell them. It is a hesitancy to us when let's say somebody's flight's been canceled and you're like, oh no, this is going to ruin their vacation. They've been planning it for 6 years. You kind of don't want to call them. And then you know what happens? Then you don't call them the next day, and you don't call them the next day, and now it's a crisis situation. We need to be communicating the crisis situation sooner rather than later. We need to work cooperatively with our competition. And this is where many people struggle. My closest competitors are my closest collaborators. And when I've got a situation, I'm like, you know what, I can't do this particular event. Here's my friends who are great at this. And sometimes they'll call me up and go, hey, I think we're both up for this one job, and I think I got it. And I cheer for them because I want my competition to do well. And the reason I want them to do well is because they push me to be better. And I need that. I want that. And the fact that we openly collaborate ideally makes us all better. That whole idea of a rising tide. Be very comfortable merging technology and people. I had some people last week who said, I'm kind of a Luddite when it comes time to technology. I said, not anymore. As of right now, you are no longer that. You are now someone who embraces technology because you have to be. Understand that the new work environment is going to be characterized by change and chaos moving forward. How we manage change and chaos is how successful our businesses will be. And keep in mind, and we're going to talk about this, first-line supervisors are the #1 reason why your people are happy and productive at work or not. So what organizations need to embrace is employee loyalty. You got to earn it and you got to keep it, and it's harder than ever. Employees need more timely and better information. They need it more often from you, and it's got to be more timely. And let people know what deadlines are, like I said. Customer loyalty is based on your most recent interaction. Think about the last time you drove through someplace and got a coffee. If the coffee was warm, if they made it wrong, if there was a problem, that is now your last memory of that organization. You are only as good as your last transaction. In sports, you're only as good as your last game. That's exactly how this has to be paid attention to in business. So keep in mind, we need to develop partnerships if you are looking to build businesses. We've got to educate the workforce in a way that you need them educated. We need more education, more targeted for the outcomes we want. I don't know how many of you ever had college math. Who had college math? How many of you have ever used your college math? See, well, that's because you went on and got a really good degree in this. I've used none of it. I have no idea why and I did not do that well in my college math. I have an engineering degree, but I'm a really terrible engineer. I have no idea why I needed some of those things. Also, dissecting a frog, I've never needed to do it since. I don't know about you, never needed to do it since. So we know that credentialing processes that are targeted, especially if you run an organization, let's say you are working to run a nonprofit and you create a credentialing system for nonprofit board members so that they have a degree of proficiency and there are steps and then they get some kind of milestone that recognizes that credential, Pam, you could do this and you could help your teams be more successful. And then individuals in the workplace need to understand the reality. Folks, you cannot take an economy and throw $6 trillion at it and not expect taxes to go up. So federal, state, county, local, property, gas taxes, cigarette taxes, alcohol taxes, and the other 300 taxes that you're not even paying attention to have all gone up. The dirty little secret that nobody is telling us is that our resources have gone up, and we're like, oh, this is terrible, the cost of everything has gone up. Well, governments, all governments, are trying to recoup the dollars they spent on the you-know-what. In the United States, our government spent $32,000 per person trying to combat the pandemic. I know. Some of you are like, just give me the check, please, Alex. That would be perfectly fine. But we have to get that money back somehow. So what they're doing is they're enacting tariffs. One of the reasons the housing market, the building departments are struggling right now, our business developments are struggling right now, is that because we get a lot of our lumber from Canada. Well, about a year ago, we thought, well, there's a high demand for people building houses. Our tariffs, which is a tax on the imported goods, that's a tax coming in from Canada on lumber, we went from 8% to 18%. So we did that to ourselves. So people say, well, you know, I was going to build a house, but now I can't because it's too expensive. Well, we did that to ourselves. And we did the same thing with steel, and we did the same thing with concrete. And we're doing it with glass right now as well. So we're imposing tariffs on imported goods. That's a tax. And we're not even seeing that. Other governments are doing the same thing because they've got to recoup this. So even with increased wages and salaries, we know that, and I said this back in November, real disposable income will decrease in 2022 as the inflation rises. We know that financial concerns remain a major concern. Back in November, I told people this was going to be a roller coaster of a stock market ride, and it has been that. For those of you who watch closely the market and you're feeling pretty good about last year, like, yeah, I did really well last year. Yes, you did up until June. And then pretty much there were no gains to be had from July through December. And moving into this year, we know that the S&P 500 is down by about 14%, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average is down by about 11%. And it's going to continue to do this. It's going to be a very, very rocky year. So because of that, we as business leaders have to be smarter about money. When you have plenty of money, it doesn't matter. So think about this for just a second. Let's say Bill Gates comes home one day and he realizes, oh gosh, my wallet fell out of my pocket and it had $10,000 of cash in it. He's like, the first thing in his head, I'm going to need a new wallet. If you walked home and you realized you had your payroll in cash and you somehow lost it, you'd have a very different reaction. You'd be very worried about that. So we have to pay more attention to the budgeting and the expenditures of the people we work with. And that means better budgeting. If you need a budgeting tool, that's at productiveleaders.com/free. It's all there. And then employees have to become more marketable as well. Employees have to deserve what they're being paid. And we need those people to be accelerating their learning curve and making sure that they are able to merge the technology that they need in order to do their jobs most effectively. So fun question for you. What workforce in the world is currently the most productive? Good for you. The United States would be correct. Most people guess Japan, Germany, the UK. The United States continues to lead in terms of productivity per hour. And some of you are thinking, that's horrifying, Mary. You should meet the people I work with. And we're the best in the world. It's partly because we don't have to teach our young workforce how to use Microsoft Office. We don't have to teach them how to use apps on their phone. We don't have to teach them the technology that makes them more productive. So because of this, they are coming into the workforce a little bit better able to handle the changes and managing technology. So for you, how are our businesses affected by world events? And what are your teams thinking? What are your, some of you have agents, insurance, and real estate. What are my clients, my customers worried about? So let's delve into that for just a little bit. So of course there is this. We are still having to contend with this. And especially for those people who are immunocompromised or worried about other health factors, this is still an issue. Now, for many other people, as I mentioned before, they're worried about the technology, being able to keep up. I promise you, I go into organizations all the time and I talk to workforces and there are people sitting there and they're saying, we're getting a new software system. I'm like, okay. And they're like, Mary, you don't understand. we don't know how to use the last software system. We've been managing to get by this whole time. The technology has bypassed them, and they are scared that you're going to figure this out. The cybersecurity is real, and it's not the systems in place at work, because those systems are generally pretty secure. It's what happens when you go home and you log into your work email with the same computer or the same tablet that your kid is using for school. And that is how the hackers are attacking CEOs. Hackers have a list of people with the name CEO by them, and they are targeting their home networks, not their work networks, because that's where the vulnerabilities are. And they're going to put it in terms of other people's names. You've all gotten it. You've all gotten an email from Terry Zarsky, and anything from Terry, you know it's going to be good. It's either going to be educational or about animals, and either way it's good. And so you're going to click on that link because you think it's a work thing, and it's not. It's going to be hacking, and this is an issue. So if you're not worried about cyber, I would be worried about cyber. Now, supply chains is a fun thing because nobody knew what supply chains were until a few years ago when it became a problem. We generally don't pay attention to things until it becomes a problem. And some of you were working from home. How many people here spent some time working at home? Good. And then you realized you hated your home. Because you said, well, gosh, I need to renovate my kitchen or my bathroom or my den or the entire house, because now that I'm spending time in it, I kind of hate it. And so you started tearing things out. You got a wild idea one day, and I know you've done this. You say, I'm going to attack this thing. I'm going to start taking down cabinets and taking down walls and maybe busting out my refrigerator. And that sounds like a really good idea until you can't get another one, because your new cabinets and your refrigerator are floating off a merchant ship doing donuts off the coast of Long Beach and Los Angeles, which is where 40% of the shipping comes into the United States. Now, right now, our backlog is better than it's been for almost a year. And before we hurt ourselves, patting ourselves on the back, it is not because we have solved our problem. We have not. It is because the ports of Shanghai have been locked down for 6 weeks. And so the ships, these little white things that are ships off the Pacific Ocean, right now there's almost 500 of those floating between Shanghai and the islands down south as the ships do donut. Because a large merchant ship, it will take them about 10 miles to do a donut in the ocean, which is why you don't want them racked and stacked unless they are actually offloading or onloading. And we've got 500 ships in China sitting. And this is a problem. Here's why it's a problem. People don't want to insure things if they cannot get a deliverable anywhere close to being on time. Crews are not excited, by the way, about doing donuts in the middle of the Pacific Ocean for months and months and months on end. And now we've got another problem. This is on the Pacific side. You know what's happening on the Atlantic side? Guess what? Plane travel wildly disrupted because of Russia's incursion into Ukraine. Airspace has been limited. Folks, Ukraine is the size of Texas. It's a very big place. And because of that, now we've got all this airspace that is blocked off, and it's dangerous. Now we also don't have ships coming in and out of the Bosphorus Straits, in and out of Turkey. And the Mediterranean is now a dangerous place to be for ships. So insurers don't want to be there, crews don't want to be there, and stuff is sitting. So the supply chain issues have gotten worse, not better. Now for some of you, you're also familiar with the Great Resignation. This is where 47.3 million people in the past 18 months have voluntarily left their jobs. Now here's the good news. Some of those people, you needed to fire anyway. You needed to fire them. They were not pulling their weight. They had checked out a long time ago, and it's good that they left. They saved you the effort of firing them. It's also good because that's 47.3 million people who are now looking for their next adventure, and it could be with you. I'm not saying these are bad workers at all. I am saying that somehow along the way, they lost their purpose, they lost their passion, they lost their vision, they lost their energy working with you. So now, maybe they've gone off to work for somebody else, which means somebody else's people now may find a new home with you. And by the way, there's 2 fingers here, 2 fingers, not 1. So I want to share with you what I worry about at night. I worry about the fact that first quarter, our real GDP actually dropped for the first time since the second quarter of the pandemic. But we did this to ourselves. We've got out of control inflation. For a good metric for you, this is costing the average American family an extra $341 per month. Think about that for just a second. How many average American families had that extra money? And the answer is not that many. Rising labor costs, supply chain problems, the bulls and the bears. Okay, so this is the stock market going up and down. Bulls, stock market goes up. Bears, bulls have horns. Bulls have horns, bears have claws. When we talk about a bear market, that means the market is going down. So the bull and bear markets, the Fed acting way too late, this is the Federal Reserve. This is the monetary policy. What they have done is they have thrown trillions of dollars into the economy to stimulate the economy. At the same time, right now, we are raising interest rates to slow down the economy. So our monetary policy is playing tug of war. Fiscal policy is tax and spend. That's elected officials who have the power to tax you and spend your money. That is also working against each other. They are increasing government expenditures at the same time they're increasing taxes. So we've got a stalemate. This is why people have started throwing around terms like stagflation, which means we've got rising prices and the economy's not growing. So this is a concern. We're still about 4 million jobs below where we were pre-pandemic. That doesn't worry me so much, and I'll tell you why. Many of those jobs have been automated, and they needed to be automated. Many people are excited about the fact that during this time we've paid more entry-level workers higher wages, and they're applauding this. The problem is that doesn't really help them, because here's the reason. Let's say you're now paying the people at a fast food restaurant $15 an hour before they're being paid $8. You know what you just did also? You just also doubled the cost of your food, because again, 64% of what you're spending money on is your labor, and remember, resources in terms of pricing have gone up as well. So the people who are buying food at fast food places are the people who are working at other fast food places or similar entry-level jobs. And the price of those things has doubled. Again, not helping their disposable income. So we do have some self-fulfilling economic prophecies. When people start talking about a recession, it decreases our consumer confidence. We know right now our consumer confidence is quite low. University of Michigan comes out with that index. So I mentioned fiscal monetary policy. I'm still very worried about Afghanistan. That's a whole different level of conversations. And we all have the same reaction to this. But right now, 95% of the population in Afghanistan does not have enough calories to sustain them. This is the political instability that we were worried about, and this is coming true. And then, of course, war in Ukraine. So a few things that I don't worry about. What I don't worry about are some of the things I want to help you with today. I don't worry about my sales funnels. I don't worry about prospecting. I don't worry about marketing that doesn't work. I don't worry about finding new markets because they're everywhere. I don't worry about my cash flow, and I don't worry about staying relevant. So this is what I want to help you with today. So what do we need to stop doing as our businesses are moving forward? Stop stressing, stop wasting time, stop wasting resources, and stop looking for the magic beans. Whoever's selling you magic beans that says this is going to be the solution to all of your stuff, and don't worry, it doesn't take nearly so much work for you, they're wrong. Running a business is hard. Of the 47 million people who have voluntarily left their jobs, 1 in 7 has decided that they want to start a business. Great. And you know what? They have no idea how hard it is to sustain a business. It's very easy to start a business. Anybody can start a business. But sustaining a business, growing a business, and having a profitable business, that's where things get tough. So here's 10 common business mistakes that I see people doing all the time. I'm not saying you do any of these, but I'm going to address some of these issues. There are 10. Number 1, people do not know if and when or how they make a profit. For many people, profit is an accident. They don't plan it. If you need a monthly profit and loss tracking statement, it's at the website, and you've got the card on your table. Number 2, they spend way too much time on tasks they could and should outsource. Folks, I am wildly aware of the things I do not do well, and it is everything that makes it look pretty. I like black words on a white piece of paper, and if you want it pretty, I am the wrong person. If you come to my house, you'd be like, wow, you decorated, never. I don't see it. I don't see it. It's not my gift. So I outsource those things. I have a virtual assistant who I've had for 15 years. I have a series of other assistants who their job is to do the things I am not good at. I have a website person, I have a marketing person, I have a social media person. I have all those pieces in place. But I still sometimes need little things done. So a very real example. I'm getting on a plane, because I'm always getting on a plane, and I get a text or an email from a friend of mine. Now, this friend, her son, was hit by a drunk driver when he was 21, and he is approaching 30. He's in a wheelchair. She is a great mom. And she says, hey, Mary, can you do me a favor? I want to do a PowerPoint presentation for his birthday, and we're going to show it at his party. You know, he really likes you. Can you please make a PowerPoint? Now, I already told you, I'm not good with graphics. And this is a lady I admire, and I adore her son, and I really want to do a good job, and I'm getting on a plane. And you know what? That just That just added something to my plate. And I'm thinking about my next client. I'm thinking about the fact that I'm on the road for 9 days in a carry-on. Yeah, in a carry-on. In a carry-on. And now there's one more thing. And I'm getting on a plane, and I'm not going to have internet. And so I forward her email to my virtual assistant service. It's called fancyhands.com. I know what you're thinking. I know. It doesn't sound like a virtual assistant service. And I forward it, and they automatically recognize my email. So I forward it to request@fancyhands.com. I say, please go to his website, get a picture of him. Please go to my website, get a picture of me. Please put together a fun GIF, make it fun, and please spell check it. And then please send it directly to his mom, because I need her to have this fast, and it needs to be off my plate. I arrive in my next city, I get off the flight, I check my emails, and I get a note from his mom. Mary, I can always count on you. Thank you so much. You're always the first person to help. Thank you so much. This is perfect. Thank you so much. We're going to use yours as the example for what everybody else should do. You're welcome. Not my gift. Don't do things, don't waste your time on the things that you are bad at doing. And if you know you're bad at them and you can't pay somebody else to do them, then maybe they don't need to be done. Or maybe you need to shift your focus. Number 3, waste time or have people on your team who are wasting time. If this is a challenge for you, I have a productivity solution for you. I do a productivity sheet. You're getting this today. It's a daily productivity sheet. I made these 10 years ago. I still do them every single day. It keeps me on track. It is the calls I need to make, the appointments I have, the follow-up I have to do, and my actual to-dos. Keeps me on track every single day. Stop wasting time. Nothing makes me crazier than people who spend more time talking about their business than doing their business. Stop talking, start doing. And then number 4, lack of focus, or have people working for you with lack of focus. And I see this all the time. I saw this in the military. People wandering around, pretending to be productive. They weren't. They weren't. So how do we get people focused and productive? Number 4, you get people focused and productive. There's a focus plan for this, and this is what we do. So number 5, not developing your own skills and knowledge. You're doing that today, hopefully. Number 6, paying too much for bad advice. People love advice that's easy instead of advice that works. We love the magic beans idea. Number 7, not using updated technology. One of the things that I do is I have a booking link. One of the frustrating things about email, hey, let's get together, let's have a 15-minute conversation. If we go back and forth more than twice, we both wasted time. I have a booking link. The booking link allows people to schedule it, and it's automatically going to schedule a Zoom call. It sends them reminders. It schedules reminders for me too. One of the biggest challenges busy people have is being reminded of the things they need to do. And some of you are thinking, but if it's important, they should show up for this. Yes, but you know what? People get busy and they lose their minds. And because of that, we need to help them. So reminders are helpful. Number 8, have a poor online presence or a poor public image. So I have to tell you, I struggle with this. When you have a name like Mary Kelly, search engine optimization is very, very difficult. I was just horrified to find out that in one of the many platforms that host podcasts, they had pulled a picture of a famous Mary Kelly. Unfortunately, this was not me. It was the Mary Kelly who was Jack the Ripper's last victim. And she died quite tragically in the 1890s, and that's the picture they used. It's not a good look, not a good look. So this is something I combat all the time. How do you combat this? With more online presence. And so we have to do that. We have to make sure that we are managing this in the right way. Number 9 is short-sighted planning. I saw a lot of people go after the quick buck in the last couple years and not look at the long-term ramifications and the long-term investments. And many people have zero strategic plan and zero succession plan. For many businesses, we say, well, the business will just die when I do. Well, that's not a very good plan. That's not a very good plan at all. So these are common business mistakes. As leaders, folks, we can swim with the tide, we can float with the tide, or we can swim against the tide. My leaders have to get ahead of the tide. We need to surf the tide. We need to be moving forward in a way that works for us and our business. Now, a lot of the things I talk about today, you're not going to want to do. That's okay. You don't have to. To get the resources I'm talking about today, you can either text the word dog, one dog, not two, not a cat, just a dog, one dog, to 66866. That is going to do two things. It is going to allow me to send you a heartfelt, poetic message right away back to your phone. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. And it's going to ask you for your email so that I can send you this link on your phone so you always have it. And it's also then going to send it to your email address so that you have it in two different places. I like redundancies and I like contingencies. And this is where you will find the resources that I'm talking about today. The resources I'm talking about today look like this. This is the 12 months of business growth. And this is where many of the 5-minute plans for businesses reside. It starts out with your mindset. Do you have the right brain engaged to have a business? Because not everybody does. Entrepreneurship is hard. And then I throw in some work-life balance, although I completely don't have any. And I don't tell anybody I have any because that would be a bold-faced lie. I think most of us think about the idea of work-life balance, but it's not really work-life balance. Most of us have a stress bucket, and that gets full. And we somehow blame it on work, but that's not really true. Because when you think about most of your happiness and your purpose and the reason you get up in the morning, it is because of the things external to you that give you happiness and joy and satisfaction and purpose. So there's that. And then we get into every month what this might look like. So I'll just pass this around in case you want to take a look at it, because you're getting all of this now. So this is designed to help people figure out how they best grow their business. And then also in this same place are a series of the 5-minute plans of some of the common challenges I thought you might have. So for example, it's your business plan. Many people say, oh, Mary, I've got a business plan, it's all up here, which tells me they haven't thought this through. If you can't show me on paper, and it's one page, if you can't show me on paper your business plan, it doesn't actually exist. I need your business plan to be something you have mapped out. And then if you struggle with that, you can start with the business plan, and then let's move into the vision plan. And then let's move into the 5-minute opportunity plans. If you're crystal clear on everything you're doing and where your business is going, this will take you 5 minutes. If you are not clear on this, it might take you a little longer, but they're all only one page. And then here's how you actually set goals and achieve them. I know, crazy idea. We would set a goal and then actually do it. Here's a marketing plan. Here's a values plan. We need to make sure that our values are aligned with our business, and then the sales plan, and then the executive coaching plan, because some of you are having to coach the people around you. And then we've got a follow-up plan and a gratitude plan and a productivity plan. So the idea behind this is making sure that we've got what we need to get unstuck. Now, this is one form of stuck. A lot of people found themselves with everything going on right here, and they can't move. So if your business or the people around you have felt like this, please know that you're not alone. So very quickly, I want to start with that mindset optimization. So very quickly, and I want you to grab a piece of paper if you've got one and make a note of it. If not, you can use the postcards. Yes, no, maybe. I am successful in my occupation. Yes, no, maybe. My business focus can be even more successful. Yes, no, maybe. I surround myself with positive people. Yes, no, maybe. My closest friends do not complain a lot. They seem mostly happy. Yes, no, maybe. When I work, I feel energized by the work I get to do. I have daily habits for success. I engage in healthy eating habits. Ish. I would say ish. I exercise or move my body regularly. I think getting up and getting coffee counts. I actively practice gratitude on a daily basis. Again, the 5-minute gratitude plan will help with that. I partner with others to increase success. I seek coaching and advice to guide my path toward greater achievement. I have a system in place to hold myself accountable. So think about where in here you might benefit from a little extra attention. Now, many people in business are worried about where their business is going, their profitability. And so this is not an economics talk, but I did want to let you know that more Americans are financially worried than they've ever been before. 68% are worried about not having enough money to retire. 56% are worried about keeping up with the cost of inflation. Folks, these numbers came out last November. This was before all the inflation of the past 6 months. 52% say they're worried about managing debt levels. And they kind of should be. We know that for people who have issues, 77% say they're anxious about their financial situation. 58% say finances dictate decisions. Doesn't mean they're making good decisions, but finances are dictating their decisions. 52% say they have difficulty controlling their money-related worries. Here's what worries me. Right now, 70% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Back in January, it was 64%. A year ago, it was 49%. We're up to 70 now, 70. This is a very big concern. The average household income actually dropped a little bit in 2020, and we would assume that to be the case because many people were laid off. The money coming in for 2021 and 2022 does look better, which is good if you're dealing with people who are dealing with forward-facing customers. And on average, the average American spends about $1,500 a month on non-essentials. So you think, okay, Mary, so that extra $341 where they're having to compensate for the rise in costs, they should be okay, except they're not. And this is part of the problem. Because we know that they've got habits that look more like this than habits that look more like this. And some of you are surprised that they actually still sell some of those. You're thinking, that's what I drank in high school. And you would be correct. We know the average credit card debt. For the people who carry a credit card balance, this shouldn't be a surprise, except it is. When you go from $807 billion in February to $856 billion in April, just over 2 months, you're starting to talk about real money. This is an issue. 52% of credit cards carry a balance. The average APR on a credit card is almost 15%. For new cards, the average is 17%. And this is where people are getting themselves into trouble. So for emergency funds, 26% of Americans right now have zero emergency fund. Zero. The scary part of this is they tend to be in the ages of 30 to 49. Why? Because that is when you have children. Children cost money. You have a car payment, a house payment, you've got children, you've got all of these other expenses. Now, of the 23% who can cover 6 months worth of expenses, they tend to be the 18 to 30-year-olds because they're living at home with mom and dad. Of course they can cover 6 months worth of expenses. They're not paying rent. And this is what we're looking at right now. So because of this, because of these issues, we know that big picture goals are of concern. People are worried about saving enough money for retirement, and they're worried about buying a house. Now, we have seen millennials buy more houses in the past year. Last year was a good year to buy a house because interest rates were still very low. Last year was also a good time to sell a house because capital gains taxes increased. So short-term goals, traveling. This is great for you. People want out. People want out of the box they put themselves in. But their concern is, can I afford it? And if I can't, does that mean more staycations, more local things? Because for the average American, what's happening right now, gas prices have gone up, and it came out this week, by over 50% in just the past year. It's higher, of course, in Europe. Inflation for everything, and there's core inflation, basically prices have gone up. Construction costs, like I mentioned, there's reasons for that, but also costs have gone up. Housing costs have risen because of construction costs and because of development costs, and because 40% of all new home builds right now are deriving their costs directly to government regulatory mandates. What you have to put in a new home, what you have to put in the neighborhood, 40%. Because that rents have gone up. If you sold a house in 2021, guess what? If the people are renting that house now, it's going to cost them a whole lot more money to rent that house. And many landlords were forced to sell properties in 2020 and 2021 because their states said you cannot collect rent payments. Well, if you've got a couple years where you haven't been able to collect rent payments because of the you-know-what and the federal mandates that says you can't go after people, and your state then imposed their own set of mandates, the only way you could get people out of those homes is if you sold the house. And if you were lucky enough to hang on to the property, now you have to raise rents because now you've got to compensate for maybe your other property where they weren't paying rent. So now all rents are going up. Labor costs are going up, taxes are going up, and uncertainty has certainly gone up. And so when I talk about this, I say, this is why people are here. People are at their breaking point, and uncertainty is a problem. Now, and you'll see it. You'll let me know when you see it. Many people say, but Mary, how do I help people with their stress issues? So I ask a couple things. I'm like, look, there's a lot of things I can't control. I can't control the weather. I can't control the stock market. I can't control politics. I can't control what Will Smith and Chris Rock do. I just can't control that. But I can control other things. So I ask myself the questions, do I own this issue? Can I fix this problem? Will my actions affect the outcome? Can my influence be helpful? Will I be happier if I get involved? I see people sometimes on Facebook, and they are arguing back and forth on things, and I'm like, You're not happier if you get involved. And I don't know if you realize this, but you're not going to change their mind. By arguing on Facebook is just not going to work. And then will my involvement help others? If the answer is yes, get involved. If the answer is no, don't get involved. Don't. Stay out of it. So don't focus on the things you can't control. Focus on the things you can control, and this will help you. Now, in almost all of my programs right now, I'm talking to people about their core and their values as it goes with their business strategy. So if you look at this like the face of a clock, and my military people know I love acronyms, The only way I remember things is I'm going to number it, everything's going to start with the same letter, or I'm going to make an acronym out of it. So this is a hat tip to my friends in the Army. On the people side, it is ARMED. It is how do you attract, recruit, and retain, mentor, manage, evolve, and develop your current and next generation of leaders and customers. How do you do that? And then on the technology and tool side, for innovation, advancements, resources, what does that look like? And do you have the right stuff in place? We've got some people here who are YouTube influencers in the cooking world. I find that very exciting because what we also found out in the last couple of years, cooking for ourselves, we're not good at it. In fact, we're quite bad at it. So if you're one of those people who can make this interesting, great. But you know what you got to have? Good sound and good video quality. Because otherwise it comes through grainy, it comes through cheap. And I'm thinking, if you're giving me a cheap video, then I don't need to listen to what you say. And it matters. Now, how many of you think cryptocurrency is stupid? Come on, you do. You know you do. Look, I do too. And a couple months ago, I was at a conference. By the way, you know how sometimes on Facebook people go, oh, here's a humble brag. You know, my 3 children just all graduated from medical school with residencies in neurosurgery with their law degree, you know, all that stuff. And you're like, I cleaned my makeup brushes this morning. Felt really good about myself. Yeah, so this is not a humble brag, this is a total brag, because a couple months ago, I got to be at a conference, and the opening speaker, Damon John. Closing speaker, Charles Payne, the guy who talks about finance, right? It was a good day for Mary Kelly, all right? And so I'm listening to both of them, and Charles Payne got up and he started talking about cryptocurrency. And he said his kids were talking to him about it, so he picked up a few shares. And in Charles Payne word, a few shares is about $100,000 worth. That's what he told us. And that got me thinking, well, maybe I need some of this stuff. Keep in mind, this is when it was selling at a premium, so that was the perfect time to buy, so I did. Because if there's going to be mistakes made, I'm just here to tell you, I'm going to make some of them more than once just to get it right. But I'm not counting on cryptocurrency for my retirement plan. That's what we have Beanie Babies for. Yeah, we got the Beanie Babies. But cryptocurrency is a thing. And in many cities and states, they're trying to figure out how to take cryptocurrency as a form of payment, which is fraught with its own problems. Because then what's the valuation? $1 of cryptocurrency today is not the same measure as it is tomorrow. Some people are saying, you know, property in Colorado is very expensive. So instead, I'm going to buy a square of a tile of the Statue of Liberty in the imaginary metaverse. Wait, what? See, I think this is real stupid too. But just because I think it's stupid doesn't mean I don't have to pay attention to it. And we're going to all have to be taking alternate payment methods. And so by alternate payment methods, I've told people, I'm like, look, I'm very flexible about payment. You want to pay me in Walmart gift cards? I'm good with it. I am good. I'm not kidding. I'm actually not kidding. Walmart gift cards are fine. Managing the uncertainty. Where are my dog people? I know I got dog people. Dog people. Okay, where are my cat people? What do you have? Oh! Would you like a fish? I will get you a fish. I don't want you lonely. She's like, please stop paying attention to me. So my dog people, have you ever had a time when there's a thunderstorm rolling in and your dog is unhappy? And so what do we do? Terry, what do? We pat head, we hold paw. Yes, that works too. We have to manage the uncertainty. So whatever the uncertainty is with our customers, our suppliers, and our people, we have to manage the uncertainty like helping your dog or your cat through a thunderstorm. Pat head, hold paw. Let them know it's going to be okay. And let them know that you are their pack leader. Whatever that looks like with your people, the same thing. So we know that we've got all kinds of uncertainty. They need reassurance from you, and they need it more often. And then we're going to get into this business growth idea. What do we need to do to strategize? What do we need to do to optimize? Where do we find opportunities, not by being opportunistic during a time of crisis, but where do we serve other people? Where do we find holes in the market where we are uniquely positioned to fill them in a way that is profitable? Because if it is not profitable, folks, that is not a business. That is a hobby. My goal today is to make sure that you are all running a successful business, not just engaging in a hobby. It has to be successful. If it's successful, it means that you can pay your people well. It means that you can live a good life. You can participate in your community. You can support your chambers. You can do all those things. And we have to differentiate our products and services. And this is how we figure this out. In the center of our value, we have to figure out what we're bringing to the table that is unique to our value. What do we do? So one of the exercises I would encourage you to think about after this is, if my value is here, what do I provide? Like, you're going to say, well, I provide great customer service. Okay, so does everybody else. So how are you unique in providing great customer service? How are you unique in the YouTube videos you are producing? And who is your unique target market? So are you that person who is going to tell me how to make a delicious and healthy dinner in 20 minutes using nothing but what's rotting in my refrigerator drawer? Because that would be a funny one. I'd be like, have you ever looked in your refrigerator door and wondered what you can, I mean, there's all kinds of funny things you can do. But what is your value and how are you uniquely positioned to do this? When this whole thing came out, many of us took our foot off the gas. And for a couple days, I did the same thing. And then somebody said, you know that value thing you're talking about? Well, what do you do? And I said, well, I'll do this exercise. So I mapped out strategic planning, leadership development, crisis management, tactics, and this. And they go, don't you think people need that right now? I went, oh, I see what you did there. Just used my own stuff right at me. Because a lot of times we don't realize that we are solving other people's problems for them. And that is why we are in business. This is why we have to do what we do. So how do you motivate yourself and your people? What do they need from you? How do you keep your people meaningfully informed? Meaningfully informed. We all have worked for organizations where we get a lot of garbage email, a lot of garbage letters. It's a waste. How do you maintain your teams focused on specific goals moving forward? How do you set and clarify goals with your people? How do you keep your people accountable? How do you hold yourself accountable? And how do you reward both your clients and your employees for great work? What do you do? Because the situation we're in right now is different. The global pandemic, which hit everybody, did affect everybody in different ways. So very quickly, I'm going to run through this, and then we're going to take a break and we'll get into the business side, because there are 6 stages of any crisis, challenge, or change. So it does not matter if you get a new leadership person in your organization. It does not matter if you have a new software. It does not matter if it is a global pandemic. People naturally go through 6 stages. The first 4 stages are very myopic. It's all about me, my job, my kids, my homeschooling, my community, my house, my dog, my cat. It's all about me. When we are threatened, we move to protect the things we care about. So the first 4 stages are very myopic. The first stage is the rejection phase. So think about it. Somebody gets into a fender bender, a car accident, and they call you and go, you know, hey, I'm in a car accident. And you're like, oh no, like that's the first thing you say. Then you try to figure out, how is it going to not be that bad? We mitigate against the bad things that could happen because of the situation. And so for many of us, we moved into this, and that worked out okay. And we said, all right, we've got this, all right, the rejection phase. And then we get into the recognition phase. And for some of you, it meant working from home, and you said, you know what, I'm going to save money on commuting. Or I can work in sweatpants or yoga pants or short pants or no pants. Looking at you, sir. I have to work from home, I get to work from home. Sounds like a good idea, but not everybody's home is great. So folks, a lot of times we think, I get to work from home, that sounds fantastic to us. Because you know what, that means we're home with our dogs and cats. This is terrific. But for some people, home is not a great place. There maybe is not enough bandwidth, maybe there's not enough computers, maybe there is domestic violence. You don't know, and you can't assume. So we've got to pay attention to those things. And then having more time with family sounds fantastic, doesn't it, Lola? Until you have more time with family. And all of a sudden, the person you love the most is looking at you saying, baby, how can I miss you if you never go away? And we figured it out. We figured out how to do Zoom calls with our dog on our lap at the kitchen counter. And we figured out, didn't we, how we are going to be doing homework with children while we're running back and forth to getting our own work done. And some people had you-know-what babies. And those you-know-what babies, which, by the way, we need more babies, they are fantastically poor office managers. Look at this. This is not a productive person. That baby is not helping, not helping. This moved us into the recognition place. In the recognition phase, we figured out, and some of us got here faster than others, we need to step up our leadership. We need more technology. We need to reconfigure things in our home. We need to reconstruct our business. We can start over strategically, and my family needs more of my time, and this is going to last for years. And we figured this out, and then we said, you know what, we got this. We've got this. We've got our office, we're calm, we're going to handle this with grace and dignity and productivity. And then we were resolute in moving forward. And we said, you know what, we're in this together. We can support each other, let's do this. These are the first 4 stages. And in these first 4 stages, and some people cycle through this with their coffee in the morning. They wake up and go, oh no, it's okay, I can work from home still 1 day a week. My family needs more of my time. All right, we can do this, we've got this. We cycle through this every single day. Again, myopic, protecting the things that we can control. Some of you took this to a new level, Joe. Maybe you bought more ammo. I don't know, whatever you did. Good. So then we moved into stage 5, which is the new reality. In the new reality, we figured out everything is on the table for change when it comes time to our business. Everything is different. Everything can change, and a lot of it should. So in the new reality, we said, you know what? This is an opportunity to figure out how we're going to move forward. In the new realignment phase, we figured out the number 1 issue, which is how do I support my people right away? And then how do I work cooperatively with my competition? And then where can I improve my processes to make it easier for people to do business with me? How many of you tried really hard to support local businesses in the past few years? How many of you were frustrated when they made it really difficult for you to give them money? They were just terrifically bad at it. Don't make it hard for people to give you money. What do we need to do differently moving forward? How does this change my leadership? How does this change my organizational strategic planning? Because it does. And then how do I equip my team to manage change when they're still stuck in those first 4 stages? And then how do I allocate my scarce resources? All resources are scarce. The most important resource you have is time. And then what do we need to create or develop? And how can we respond quickly to what our markets need? We're bad at cooking. Give us the solution, because we need the solution. We're unbelievably bad at it. Our knives are dull. We don't know how to shop. Frankly, we don't know what to shop for. You give us ingredients we've never heard of. Help us. We don't know. So we need to be responsive to the needs of our market. And then how do we stay focused, and how do we get positioned for the future? So a lot of you very quickly moved into this place. And this is why it's sometimes frustrating for you with some of the people you work with, because they did not. And when they didn't move there and you're trying to drag them, you're frustrated with them. You're saying, look, this is where we need to go. And they're like, no, don't want to. And you're like, but if we don't change, we're going to be out of business. And they're like, but I'll still get a paycheck, right? And they weren't getting it. And some people still aren't. So this is kind of the challenge that we've got right now. So what I'd like to do is take about a 10-minute break, and then I would like us to get into the business strategy part of why you all came here today. Do you feel good about that? Everybody say yay? Okay, great. All right, let's take 10 minutes. Thank you so much. All right, see you in a few minutes. So how do we get more business? And what do we do to get through a crisis, challenge, and a change with the business we want? And how do I find more time in the day to do what I need to do in order to grow my business? And this is where a lot of people get stuck. They say, oh, Mary, I would like to do this, but I just don't have time. And I understand that, but we all have the same amount of time that Albert Einstein had, and Madame Curie had, and everybody else had. So how do we grow our business in a way that works for us? And what does this look like when we do it? Your business has to be about what is important to you. So I have a mastermind. This is my mastermind. These are people who we hold each other accountable. These are the people who, when I say, hey, I've got a great idea, they go, no, it's not. And they have 100% authority to tell me when it is not. I care about, I would like to care about healthy eating. I don't really I don't necessarily. I like the idea. I like time with my dogs. I miss my dogs, as some of you know. I like the idea of having a business. And I will just share with you, before I forget, that once I realized that I could run my business any way I wanted to, I thought, well, cool. And I was going to conferences, and when I would get to a conference, maybe in Grand Junction, maybe I'm at the Holiday Inn, this is actually where the idea started, and maybe that Holiday Inn in Grand Junction just did not have a great assortment of alcohol in the bar. And I would arrive and I would be thirsty. And I said to myself, if I'm having this struggle, maybe other people are having this struggle too. And I thought, well, what if I could transform my back of the room book sales, which is not the part of my business I like. I don't mind doing sales, but I also don't like $20 relationships with people, and it makes me feel like I'm in a totally different business. Not good. So I don't do back of the room sales very well. How I transform that, I will show you with props. Each one of my books and programs has its own wine label. This does a few things. If people spend $100 on my books, they also get a bottle of wine. Now, ideally, when I travel, I only carry 5 bottles with me because the suitcase holds 6, and one of those is for me. And I also bring wine bottle openers because some people are amateurs. And I bring wine bottle aerators because you might need that. And I do bring a stopper just in case you don't finish it there. I don't know why you wouldn't, but that's your call. It also means that my drinking becomes a marketing expense. Isn't this fun? So that's kind of how I transform that into something fun for me and therefore my audiences. Now, does everybody drink? No. Do I respect that? 100%. Good for you. You're the liver I want when I need one. That is fantastic. See, that's hilarious right there, folks. That's hilarious. So anyway, you can do anything you want with clever marketing, and it's all about how you are helping your people stay connected with you. You get to decide your yes, no, maybes. For me, if it's not a heck yes, then it's got to be a heck no. If I'm not all in, I need to not do it. If it's a maybe, if it's lukewarm, if it's not something I'm excited about, I have to say no. It has to work for me to have a viable business. Throw out a top challenge that you or your business leaders might be having right now. How do you get to people? Good. How do you make that targeted, focused marketing? The YouTube algorithm, yes, which changes all the time.
Onboarding education.
Onboarding education, yes. Yes. Very recently, I was in Kansas City, and a man came up to me after the conference. It was in Overland Park. I love Overland Park. I love the convention center there. And he said, we need 60 more people in my company, and we're bringing in 50 people every week, and we always seem to be needing 60 people. And I told him there's 2 things wrong with your organization without knowing anything about your organization. There's 2 things wrong. One, your onboarding process, he's in manufacturing, is awful. I used more descriptive words. Here's why. I use very descriptive words. There was another group I was working with in the automotive industry. And here's the problem. They're hiring mechanics who are motivated to work on your cars. We need these people. And then you know what we do for 2 weeks? We make them sit in a classroom and learn about why they should not be having sex with people on the copy machine. That is what we do for onboarding. And we destroy their motivation. So we take highly motivated people who interviewed for this job. They wanted this job. They applied for this job. They interviewed for this job. They gave you a resume. They promised they were going to do a great job for you. And we have taken highly motivated people and we have turned them into wildly unmotivated people by putting them through onboarding, which is awful. It's done poorly by people who are terrible at doing it, and they're just slogging through material because it's a check in the block that their lawyer said they have to do. Don't do it. And they said, well, we have to do certain things. Yes, you do. But instead of doing it that way, have Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays do a lunch. Bring in lunch for all these people and say, hey, we know you're busy, and here's the thing, and we're going to feed you, and we're going to knock out 2 birds with 1 stone. You're going to eat, and you're going to get great training, and it's going to be faster paced. It's going to be more relevant. It's going to be more targeted, and hopefully it's not going to be awful for 2 weeks. Number 1. The second thing, the big reason people are leaving jobs, they're telling you one thing, and they're telling me something else. What they're telling you is, I've decided to take my career in a different direction. They hate their boss. They say, I've decided to try my hand at running my own business. It's because they hate the bureaucracy that is your organization, and they hate their boss. If they say, I've decided to move to Kansas, it's because they hate their boss, and they're willing to go to Kansas. No offense, Kansas people, no offense. but they're willing to move to get away from their boss. 58% of Americans say they would take a pay cut if it meant their boss would be fired. I'm an economist. I said, how much of a pay cut? How much? How much of a pay cut? And is it just a one-time deal, or is that over time? Good. What else? What else is a challenge? Yes, ma'am?
Customers who want things for free.
Customers who want things for free. Good. So this, to me, I want to address that really quickly. When you provide something for free, that is exactly how people value it. And that is a problem. Now, it is okay to have a lead generation tool that gives them a taste of what you can do that is free. I subscribe very heavily to David Newman's ideas on this. Do you get his newsletters? Get everything David Newman has ever done. I think it will be fantastic for you. His book is called Do It Marketing. He also just came out with a book that you might really like. It's called Do It Speaking. David Newman is the one who said, give away stuff online for free. And here's why. All of us have gone on YouTube and played music. We've all gone to hear Hotel California and whatever on YouTube. We've seen it. But you know what? We still buy tickets when the Eagles come to town. And that's what we're going for. But when people say, hey, can you do this for free? The question needs to be, why would you do it for free? Is it the target market you want? Is it the lead generation you want? Is it the perfect audience you want? And is it going to deliver greater things later? Now, we're in the business of doing what we do, which means if there's dogs involved, I'm showing up. I'm showing up every single time. If there's veterans involved, I'm showing up every single time. And the money doesn't matter. But to run a sustainable business, you have to have limits. And you have to have parameters. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll say I have 2 pro bono events per year. And so when somebody calls, sometimes I'll say, I'm sorry, those are already taken. Because they fill up fast. I have 2 a year. But they still have to do certain things. And I can come up with a list for you. Meredith Elliott Powell has a list for that as well. I'm not sure if you've seen that. I can email it to you. So there's that. So in your strategic plan, again, everything starts with a P, because it's not an acronym. So it's your big picture, it's your purpose. Why do you get out of bed every single day? What is your why? And what is your plan? And what people do you need in order to make this happen? So I mapped this out. So this is how I do my stuff, and I thought I might share this with you, hoping it might be helpful for you. So in the big picture, what is my vision for the future? What's exciting and motivating and forward thinking? And what am I doing to think big? Most people think small. And I have to push myself to think big too, because it's very easy to get around with just the day-to-day stuff and feel good about yourself of the things you got done that day. But I'm thinking, am I really thinking bigger or not? And then the purpose, the why. Who benefits with our success? When you are great at what you do and you can reach more of an audience, then see more people benefit by this. And that's critical. Do we have the right services and the products at the right time? And are we looking at our customers' needs and our company's benefits specifically for those needs? Or are we doing what a lot of academia does, and we are teaching a solution for a problem that existed 30 years ago? And we do this all the time in academia. Now, our plan. How do we map out our goals? How do we have a clear and compelling path? How do we assign timelines to ourselves to hold ourselves accountable? Create deadlines. And you know what? Those deadlines are real. I don't care that you're tired. I don't care it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon and all your friends are going home and having cocktails with Lola. I don't care. If your deadline was that day, then you need to get that done that day. And then communicate the goals and the deadlines to your team so that they help you stay accountable and be accountable. When you're accountable to your team is going to be accountable to you. When people know you never miss a deadline, then they know they can count on you. There's a reliability factor. And then who do we need to grow our business? Who do we need to help us in the business? And then how do we show appreciation? And what are the right outcomes? And so surround yourself with the right people. What is your value that is unique to you or your organization that you are bringing to the table? Find the opportunity. In the Park Meadows Mall in July of 2020, a buddy of mine took this picture. And it is COVID Essentials where they sell nothing but masks. They managed to get a storefront genned up and masks within 3 months of the you-know-what hitting. Now, if you had told me in January of that year, said, hey, Mary, I've decided to create a store where we're going to make masks that people can wear out in public, I would have said it was the stupidest business idea since goat yoga. And I would have been wrong. So a couple questions to ask. What are the benefits of having this particular challenge right now? Let's say you lose a staff member. What's the benefit of having this challenge right now? You get to revamp the position. You get to rebrand the position. You get to advertise, and people know that you are successful enough to advertise. In a year, what will we say was a great outcome of this situation? What was a great outcome? So anytime there's a crisis, challenge, or change, instead of saying, oh no, poor me, this is terrible, take your foot off the gas. No. Ask yourself in a year, what will I be proud of because I did this? So I'll tell you, as some of you know, I like wine. And some of you have been with me when I've enjoyed wine. So I combine my purpose and passion because many people were holding online training programs. You know what was happening during these online training programs? We do an online training program and everybody would be very excited. And then they go, okay, thanks, click. And everybody sat there going, what just happened? We had all this great energy and then it went away. We all felt sad afterwards. So I said, hey, wouldn't it be fun if we all loop back at the end of the day and did a happy hour? And I'll facilitate it. And we can use my Zoom link and we'll do facilitated happy hour. And then that turned into facilitated wine tastings at happy hours for associations. They wanted to do something at the end of a day-long conference. And I said, I got the solution. I'm going to combine my purpose and my passion. And not only that, it's an extra fee if you actually want the wine. If you can go next door and get something close to that, good for you. But we're going to deliver the wine to your house. And I'm going to get a sommelier to explain it, and we're going to have drinks, and we're going to go cheers, and then you can sit home and drink Coca-Cola. I don't really care. And then we're going to get into breakout rooms, and I'm going to ask targeted questions to sum up the day. And then we're going to get back together, and then we're going to have a different wine. And it became a thing. So how do we take advantage of the situation? Now, here's where the real work is today. This is your business growth plan. When I work with teams, this is where we start. So again, we're going to do this together. And I'm going to challenge you. We're going to go through this. And if your answer is a no or a not sure, you're going to make a note of that. And then at the end of this exercise, we're going to pick the top 3. You're going to pick the top 3 that if you focused on these 3 things would generate the most revenue and profits for you. So number 1, we have a business plan that accurately describes what we do. Yes, no, not sure. We have a strategic vision for our business that's driving us toward future success. And that vision asks you questions. It asks you, who are we serving in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years? What other changes are we seeing that's coming in the future? Everyone is clear on our goals for moving the organization forward. You might be clear. If I ask the rest of the team, hey, what's the strategic vision around here? Where are we going? Would they be able to tell me? Sometimes I think there's a placard on that in the bathroom. That happens a lot. We know our break-even points as well as our total revenue, total costs, and our profits. During the you-know-what, I interviewed about 100 CEOs, anywhere from 5 million to about a couple that were about 900 million. And I asked them the questions, and the one thing that bubbled up to the top every time was, as a CEO, you have to know your numbers. You have to know this. We have systems in place for actively generating, receiving, and thanking referrals. Somebody gives you a referral, that is a newborn baby. That is a kitten. That is a puppy. That is something to be cherished and loved and communicated. And when you are not taking care of your referrals, you should not be surprised when you don't get more of them. We have systems in place to show our customers appreciation for their business, and not just at the point of sale when they give us money, all the time. What are we doing to continuously provide value to the people who support us? And then, do we have systems in place for getting honest feedback? And I'm here to tell you, I don't want honest feedback. No. When you get an eval for this, I want you to go, greatest thing ever, changed my life, best ever. I don't want honest feedback. That's what I have a family for. They tell me these things. But in business, if you deliver a less than optimal response, and then people vote by not coming back, it'd be really nice to know why they're not coming back, if you're willing to hear it. Now, I need to tell you that some people just want to complain. That's not what I'm talking about. And some people will come up afterwards and say, hey, can I just give you some unsolicited advice? The answer is no. No. Don't let other people derail you, because that's what we're talking about, those distractions. No, that's not what we're talking about. I'm talking your customers who say, hey, Mary, I really like this, but I wish you'd spent about 15 more minutes on this. Good. So I had a group last week where, so before my program, they gave a politician the microphone. And I was supposed to talk for 59 minutes. And I got to talk for 31 minutes because they gave a politician the microphone. And I felt bad, but I felt bad because the audience were kind of promised something and they didn't get it. And then people came up afterwards and said, well, I kind of thought you were going to talk about this. And what I wanted to say in my head was, me too. I really was going to do that, but that's not what happened. So I went back to my point of contact and I said, hey, we can't control all the variables. I said, here's what I'd like to do. Let's have a follow-on program in 30 or 90 days. And you can call it Mary's follow-on program so that they get that extra piece. Like, how do we continue to take care of our customers in the right way and make sure the systems for getting honest feedback are getting the feedback that helps us be better, not making us feel bad about ourselves, not changing things we can't change. Our website is easy to navigate. No, not for you, for other people, your buyers. Is it easy for you? And I will redo my website. And then I like it for like 3 months, and then I hate it. Because now I want new and different things, and then I get very excited. And all the time, I'm trying to get a smoother, cleaner, more streamlined website, and then I add things to it, and I confuse sometimes my buyers. That's all on me. Is our website mobile friendly? Check every 90 days and check on your phone and then somebody else's phone that is not like your phone. Every 90 days because, again, the algorithms change. Is our social media updated consistently and always linked to the website? So again, your website is like your favorite restaurant. And your favorite restaurant, the SEO spiders, the spiders that do all the search engine, they like a restaurant that's been there for a long time, and they like fresh produce every day. This is Marigolds. It's been there a long time, they get fresh food every day. That's the perfect combination. This is why you want to tie your website into your social media feeds. Unless you're posting stupid stuff on your social media feeds, and then go ahead and post it so the rest of us know that we should not do business with you because you're doing stupid stuff. I don't say that lightly. Some people post stuff that, keep in mind, whatever you post, if it's confrontational, if you make your living on being confrontational, good for you. But for the rest of us, if you're just posting stuff and it's just mean, you're going to make certain people mad. And if those are your customers, then you kind of deserve to lose that business. Now, our website can capture customer contact information. I bounce back and forth on this because I don't like pop-ups, but they are wildly effective. We have trusted advisors to keep us on track, such as a corporate advisor, board of directors, or a mastermind. I hire a coach every year to tweak my stuff. I have a mastermind. I have teams of people who go, you're going in the wrong direction. Stay focused. Get back on track. We devote resources on professional training for the team. Yes, I go to 2 conferences a year just for me to get better, and I pay the money, and I cheerfully do that. Does everybody on our team knows how to take great care of our customers, and they do it? So it's one thing to know I take great care of my customers. It's another thing to actually cherish the customer. Take great care of them. And then do we follow up with clients the way we should? The answer is no. Every single person in this room could do more follow-up. We all could. We all could. So how do we do that? Now, pick 3 of these. Pick 3 and circle them on your piece of paper. Circle the 3 things that you are going to make a commitment from now till the end of the year to improve. And then I want you to put together a goals plan of how you're going to do it. Everybody got 3? Good. Now, this is just for you because we kind of are in the same space. I call this the speaker hustle. This is just for you. So if you're an entrepreneur, one-person solo act, this might be helpful for you. Because I always get asked, what do you do every single day to stay on track and make sure you're doing what you need to do? So again, things start with the same letter. I try to be determined, deliberate, and decisive in my thought, my actions, and the focus for the day. Am I always successful? No. The ADD is strong in this one. My ADHD and all the squirrels running around in here, they're very active. So it's an effort for me to do this. And then I want to make sure that I am dominating the spheres I want to dominate in the area that I need to be known for. What does that look like? And then I want dependable delivery. I'm going to be that person, this is for you, who's going to research the audience, show up and deliver the energy I know that I'm supposed to be doing, and then I'm going to be unique because we all are. That's the idea. So this is just for you. Okay. And then you fill in the blank for you. This is just for you. Make sense? Jeannie Robertson, I don't know if you know her. She's a comedian. We lost her last summer. And I had lunch with her, and she was always that person who said, I'll outwork you. She died at 79, and she was still working. They found her in bed, surrounded by paper, still writing jokes, like for her next show. And she's like, I'll outwork you. And in my world, I think work goes a long way. So when I talk about reaching out to clients, and I think this would be helpful for some of you, I talk about my 90-day cycle of client love. So how do you love on people if you're trying to get new clients, if you're trying to get new members to your site, if you're trying to get new clients for your travel business, if you're trying to get more people to buy homes, whatever you're looking for. So I look at this and I say, so choose 30 people who are potential buyers or members to love on for 30 days, and then give them targeted information. So this is especially good for you. So for you, it might be past or current clients, maybe some audience people, maybe bureaus, maybe cold outreach. And so some people say, well, and then I map this out, there's 4 stages. So it's choose 30 people, figure out what sectors they come from, don't put all your eggs in one basket, and then where do you get people for cold outreach, and then what kind of love are you going to give them? And I do say love, because I was raised in Texas. So you choose the 30 people, and then let's say you're going to do some cold outreach, like for your YouTube initiative. So where does this come from? Well, if you're new to the business, or you went deep with clients and then suddenly realized, like let's say you were doing a lot of work with IBM and Microsoft, and all of a sudden your points of contact there moved on to another job, and the new person, they're not impressed with you. All of a sudden that could be 20 or 30 or 60% of your business, and that's really hurtful. So now you're basically having to start over. How do you do that? Well, you got to remember, I came into this from the military. That was me 39 years ago. I know, and some of you are thinking, wow, you used to be skinny. Yes, 39 years ago. So I didn't have a corporate background. I had to start from zero. So I had to choose from where I could find people for business. So for me, and I strongly recommend taking a picture of this slide. This is the Intel N, as in November, GIN, www.intelengin.com. This is how I do my business intelligence. This is my secret weapon. It is wildly cheap. It is wildly effective. And when I am looking for more business, I go to the Intel engine. So let's say I'm just going to use Mario. So let's say I'm trying to find people who travel in the Colorado Springs area. There's a way to track that. I can also track, if I'm running a nonprofit, who donates money to nonprofits. What nonprofits are they donating to? How much are they giving? So that you can track that. It's the Intel engine. Now, most of you are familiar with LinkedIn because we're grown-ups. There's also an encyclopedia of associations. This is where you can find markets that might be helpful to you. So if you're in the travel world and you're not part of the association that deals in travel, you're missing out, because that's how you find either the education that makes you better or puts you in touch with other people who know how to get in touch with the people who travel. If you're looking to find people who are making over $250,000 a year, who take at least 2 vacations every single year for pleasure, and you're a travel agent, then that's what you need to pinpoint. And then there's association executives, which a lot of you have. The Intel engine, it's run by a guy named Sam Richter, R-I-C-H-T-E-R. You can email him, say Mary sent you. I'm sure he'll be delighted with me. And say, Mary said, I need to start the subscription for the Intel engine. And so that's Sam. Then give people attention. All of your clients need more attention. What they're used to getting is attention from you when you want them to buy something. My alma mater, same as yours, famous for only talking to me like a teenage kid who only talks to mom and dad when they want the car keys. Hey, Mary, so glad to have you as part of our alumni Give Money. Wait a second, what have you done for me lately? And no, because you haven't done anything for me. And the only time you come to me is when you're looking for money. And a lot of people run businesses this way. And that is not what we are looking for. So give people attention and give it to them the right way. This is my 5-minute follow-up plan. This is perfect for travel agents, real estate agents, insurance agents, you, and your folks who have members. Your members want more and better information from you, and they want it more often. There's all kinds of things you can do. There's a list here. Send a handwritten note. I'm on the road a lot. Sometimes I forget stamps. Sometimes my note cards get squished in my luggage. It doesn't look nice. I use a service called Handwritten with a Y, and it's kind of like a send out cards. That one's good too. I will oftentimes forward an article or a video to people, just say, hey, I thought of you. I thought it might be helpful. I'm not selling anything. Most of the time, it's not even my video. I just thought of you and thought this might be helpful. I will oftentimes order a business book delivered to them if I think it can be helpful to them. I'm like, hey, I just came across this book. I thought you might like it. Connecting with people on LinkedIn, that's easy. Ask them if you can add them to your list. Ask. It is the polite thing to do. Find somebody you both know, start a conversation, highlight things. I don't like video. Sorry. Because I don't like my hair, I don't like my clothes, I don't like my makeup, all the things. But when somebody sends me a video message, I can't ignore it. I don't even want to look at it because now there's sound and I have to get to a quiet room and I have to put on hair, but I'm still going to watch it every single time. So especially if you're you do that. You say, hey, look, I just want to let you know we got some specials and I thought you might be interested. Or hey, here's some travel trends that's happening right now. And send a video. Send a voice memo, send a link for helpful things, offer a coffee. And by offering for coffee, saying, hey, let's get together sometime for coffee, that's not sincere. Everybody is secretly hoping that you'll never call them again. But if you say, hey, are you free next Thursday for coffee from 10 to 10:45, that I can handle because I know you're not going to take off my entire day. Make sense? So be very specific in your invitations what that looks like. So this is my cycle of love. I really should say that better for the video. This is Mary's cycle of love when it comes time to follow up with clients. Okay, so I'm going to connect on LinkedIn. I'm going to do handwritten notes. I'm going to send a postcard. The postcards, if I don't have a good picture of something that might be interesting, I'm going to take a picture of my dogs. I'm going to take a picture of your dog. I'm going to take a picture of a cat. You're going to get a fish. Or I just go buy a photo, and then I'll make a postcard out of it. And I'll just write a note to say thank you. I might send one of my books with a one sheet. I might send one of my workbooks with a one sheet. I might send somebody else's books and worksheets. I might send a sales trigger. I get my sales triggers from Sam's Intel engine. I might send hard copy articles. Now, swag. Most swag people hate because it's got their marketing or branding on it, nobody cares. Most of us don't need another pen. So what I do for people I'm trying to get your attention, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a little package, and it's going to have a wine bottle opener, and it's got a dog on it. And then I'm going to have a wine aerator, and it's going to have a dog on it. And then there's going to be a wine bottle stopper, it's going to have a dog on it. I'm going to send you a little package, and I'm going to say, hey, Terry, watch your front porch for what happens next. And you're thinking, there's going to be wine, and you would be right. So I send these little things in because that's the swag, and it builds some anticipation, and then the wine arrives, and then people are happy. So yeah, and all you're trying to do, folks, is stay top of mind. Top of mind, top of mind. I have a newsletter. It goes out every Tuesday, and then there's a summary of it every Friday. And then once a month, there is Mary's freebie stuff that goes out. Now, the whole purpose there is to not get people to unsubscribe. All I want is twice a week for you to see Mary Kelly, Leadership, Economics, Business Growth. That's it. I don't care if you read the article. I don't. I don't care if you open it. I don't. All I want is to stay in your mailbox twice a week so that when I meet the particular need of you or your organization, that you think of me first. That's all I'm doing. It is the same thing for all the books. This is they're good. I mean, I've got like 15 books out. Half of them are good. I'll say half. But all I want you to do is have this on your shelf so that when you think, I do have some leadership challenges, I need to call Mary. And cheerfully enough, my contact information is in all of these. This is a business card that's simply hard to lose. And then for some people, I will send them a link to a current or a past webinar that they can use for marketing. I might send a micro-learning package. For example, I was recently at the Florida Association of Realtors conference. Florida has 140,000 real estate agents. And one of the audience members asked a very good question. He says, Mary, what do I do when people ask me, why can't they just sell their homes themselves? It's a hot market. Why can't they just put a sign out in the yard and sell their own home? Now, who here has ever been a real estate agent? Yeah. And the answer is so many reasons. But if you're my real estate agent and I ask you that question, then your response is not always perceived as being objective because you have a financial benefit of selling my home. So I said, you know what, that's a really great point. So I called my videographer, Jay, over here, and I said, hey, Jay, we're going to film me talking about whether or not you should buy or sell your own house. Mary Kelly on FSBOs. So it's 7 minutes of Mary Kelly talking about for sale by owner and why it might be a good idea and why it might be a terrible idea, coming from a third-party objective person. So I sent that to not just this one audience person. I sent it to all of the people I have ever spoken to in the real estate world. And all of a sudden, the phone rang. Hey, Mary, we're having a conference next year. Can you come? Now, that wasn't my intent, but once I did it, and Jay looked at me and goes, Mary, this is actually good. We can use this. I was like, we can? This is fantastic. See what I mean? So once you find ways to show people attention, there's all kinds of ways to do this. Now, I'm also going to share with you all my secret weapon. My secret weapon lives in Colorado Springs. My secret weapon is the cookie blast that is Christine. And I'm going to show you a picture because her magical cookie things are the world's greatest things ever. When I do mailouts, this is what my kitchen table looks like. Looks like all of these things, and then I will sometimes send out, and I shamelessly promote my friends' books, shamelessly promote them. If you've got a sales problem, I'm going to get you a Mind for Sales, maybe Velocity Mindset. If you've got a customer problem, I'm going to go to David Avrin or Shep Hyken. If you've got a business strategy problem, I'm going to go with Thrive, which a lot of you have. I shamelessly promote my friends. And if I'm going to be very shameful, I'm also going to promote my dog. So that kind of goes with it. If I take a picture of my book and post it online, that's wildly self-promotional. But when I take a picture of my dog, now people go, that's right. See, that's right. And that's what I want. All right. So I might send out a one sheet as well. Every single person in this room should have a one sheet that describes what it is you do and for whom. Every single person. And if it's not you, your organization. What do you do and for whom? Because that will force you to identify what it is you do and put it in one sheet. And then when I do mailouts, I try to make them fun and colorful because let's face it, we get enough plain brown wrappers. Now, this is Christine. A lot of you know Christine Yoakum. She's amazing. This is Christine at cookiecharm.com. So here's how this works. Me, Christine. I have a new client. I have somebody who I want to be a new client. I want to say thank you to a client. Christine, I give her a budget. She will go online and she will stalk them in a way that makes this former Intel officer proud. And she will go, what she did with this particular group is she went in, it turns out he's a dog lover. Yay. So you know what? She took his dogs, put them on cookies with his head, his face, their business logo. She gets this huge tower of boxes that look like the Tiffany blue boxes, wraps them all up in a ribbon. The cookies are delicious. He loves to put quotes with his dogs, so she put them on cookies. He calls me up and he says, Mary, I have never in my life had a gift that was this cool or this creepy. Props to you, and you have my attention. And that's all I'm trying to do, folks, is I'm trying to stay attention. And when all of this happened, I called Christine and I said, we just want to send some encouragement. So she put one cookie, we designed it. I said, I just want to say we're all in this together, let's do it together. And the idea of, it's not salesy, put it in a box, thinking of you, we're all in this together, Mary. And then you get to forward it. You get to continue it and pay it forward. So here's the code. You go online and now you can send a cookie to somebody else. And all of a sudden people went, that's so cool. So again, it's all about the attention. This is Christine at cookiecharm.com. If you don't know Christine, you should know Christine. And by the way, I don't get kickbacks. I'm just saying I just love what she does. I think she is a good person, and I love, love, love promoting other people's businesses. Now, customer service plan. When we do great customer service, we think we provided great customer service. Do our customers think we provided great customer service? Was what we provided what they needed? And then what do they need next? The only way to find out is to ask. This is my favorite. Our follow-up for clients is fabulous, not great, or cringeworthy. A lot of times we don't do it, and then 6 months go by, and now we don't know if we should contact them because we feel weird. We kind of feel like it's dating. Folks, this is business, this is not dating. In business, it is okay to reach out to people who can use our services. It is okay to reach out to people when we have a solution to their business problems. In business, that's why we're here. We are here to provide solutions. This isn't dating. If your feelings are hurt because nobody called you right away, get in a different business. That's not what this is about. Follow up, follow up, follow up, and follow up. Before, it used to take, just a few years ago, 4 years ago, it used to take 7 ish 7 to 9 touches before people would make a buy. It is double that right now because there's simply more chaff, more noise in the marketplace. So we've got to make sure that we are breaking out from the noise, but also staying in touch. And when we talk to our sales teams, those of you who have sales teams, most people will stop making phone calls after 3 calls. But it takes 15 before people make the buy decision. So we have a significant disconnect. So let's talk about time management for just a second. There's a lot of words on this slide. Don't worry, there's a handout for that. And this is what this, I've broken this down for you. This is what this looks like. So day to day, have that strategic plan and have routines and habits that contribute to that strategic plan every single day. Folks, I know that to distract me, singing husky videos are the most fun thing ever. Pictures of people with their dogs howling and then they put captions to what the dogs they think mean. I think that's the funniest thing ever. Also makes me really glad I don't have a husky, but also hilarious and I can't stop watching them. So I know I can't do that in the morning. I cannot start my day with music videos because I'll be there for an hour or chasing rabbit holes that I should not be chasing. Set my daily goals the day before every single day. If it's important, schedule it. Put it on your calendar and schedule it. My team schedules me in 15-minute increments every single day, 15-minute increments. And they are careful to guard my calendar like dogs on a bone. They are. And they will say, Mary has exactly 13 and a half minutes at 10 o'clock on this day. And they will help me stick to that. Schedule calls and meetings and outreach. If it's important, schedule it and do it. If it's not important, it probably doesn't be done or done by you. Don't try to guess your way through the day and hope you accomplish stuff. To me, that's like pouring water in your hands and then being surprised when you can't hold the water through your hands. Prioritize your tasks. And in case you're wondering, the first thing to do every single morning is to do the things that's going to make you money. That's the first thing to do. All those other things, just chaff. Have a way to triage your emails as well to make sure that you are not wasting time on that. Know what's distracting for you. Be rigorous about your work time. Look, I have a day that starts with work at 6 a.m. Not everybody does that. I plan to work from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's my work day. Not everybody does that. I understand that. I don't expect other people to do that. But know when your work time is. And oh, by the way, if you decide you're going to wait to do something until you feel like doing it, please go work for somebody else. Because it's never going to happen. Mel Robbins has a great piece on this. She says, if you're thinking about it, you have to take action on it within 5 seconds or it's gone. Don't wait till you feel like doing it. There's no feelings involved with this. Business success is based on decisions that make success. So decide to get things done and then get those things done. And then every day review what you have to do to stay on track for those goals. If it's not contributing to those goals, get rid of it. Be consistent about working when you are most productive. I know that I have kind of lag time. Well, it's not because I ate lunch. It's just around 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon is not my most productive time. And people say, oh, just go take a nap. No, that is when I schedule client calls. Because I know if I schedule client calls then, I'm like, oh, I don't really want to do this. But it's on the schedule, and I have to do it. If I don't do that, I'm going to be wildly unproductive. If I'm on a client call, it's going to be productive. So that's what I know I have to do. Make outbound calls to past, present, and future clients every single day. And people say, well, every day, why can't I just do them on Fridays? No. If you just plan to do them on Fridays, and then you get derailed by one Friday, now 2 weeks have gone by and you haven't done anything. Do it every day. It's like taking vitamins every single day. You can't just hold all your vitamins to the end of the month and go, okay, I'm going to take all my vitamins today. Doesn't work that way. This is all about consistency and repeatability. And when things pop up, categorize them quickly. Be ruthless. Do it, delay it, delegate it, or delete it. Be ruthless. If it can be done quickly and it needs to be done by you, do it right away. If there are things that you take actual brain time to do, because I have work that I call my drunk monkey work. This is work that I can sit on the couch at night with a glass of wine in my hand and just go, got it, file it, got it, delete it, got it. That's the drunk monkey work. I don't have to think about that. But I have other things where somebody sends me an email and I really have to think about it. I'm going to have to put time and effort into it. I'm going to have to do that proposal. I'm going to have to spend actual big brain thinking. And Harvard says we can only do that for 4 hours a day. So I have to guard those 4 hours and I have to kind of break that up. So maybe I have to delay that until I've got a block of time where I can do that. And then delegate it. If I don't have to do it and I can delegate it to somebody else who's going to get it done faster or better than me, then I need to do that. And then delete it. There are certain things, and I have the year in review plan. That is the things that you don't do. Many of us have things that are still hanging over our head. We say, oh, we really should do that. Should we? Should we really? Because maybe it doesn't serve us anymore. Maybe it's something we can leave in the past. So with time management, when you're running a business, you've got to be focused on the things that matter. So the management, the time management is huge. The me part, do we consistently over-deliver from the client's point of view? So think about this. If you are on your website and there are testimonials on your website, are they good? Are they recent? And if they're not, think of your last 5 clients. Would they give you glowing testimonials? If the answer is no, maybe you need to up your game. Are you really, really, really easy to work with? And I mean really easy. Do you quickly adapt to the changing needs of the client? If I call you at 3 o'clock in the morning because my flight's been canceled and I'm stuck in Amsterdam, you can answer the phone. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe. Are you focused on not just satisfying but delighting your clients? And what would they say about that? So how do you add value to clients and your teams when you get involved? And what does that look like for you? And then think about, what do you want to have different in a year? Because this is the strategy piece that we need to be paying attention to. In a year, what accomplishment will you be celebrating? And in a year, what do you want to have accomplished? Because a lot of people start a business, but they don't put those milestones in place that hold themselves accountable. And then they use excuses. The same people use excuses for budgeting. Here's how this looks. Oh gosh, it's June. Well, I can't stick to my budget this month because we're going to take a family vacation. And we're going to go to the mountains for a couple of days, so I know that's kind of going to blow the budget, so that's not going to be good. Well, then July, we got the 4th of July, and my parents are going to come in, so you want to take them out for a nice dinner, so that's going to be a problem. Then August, we got to get the kids back to school. And then we've got Labor Day weekend in September, so that's going to throw things off. And then October, well, that's a long month, 31 days. Well, that's a long month, so there's not enough dollars to go around in the month. And then we got Halloween, and then all of a sudden, well, we can't save in November because it's Thanksgiving, and we're going to all travel back for Thanksgiving. And then we can't save money at Christmas because, Christmas comes as a surprise every single year, apparently, for a lot of people. And then we get into January, we still have bills over Christmas, so we're going to pay that off, and then we're going to start saving. And then it gets us into February, but that's Valentine's Day, and if I don't tell, Terry that I love her, then she's going to dump me, and that's going to be a problem. And then March is spring break, and everybody knows what that means, Fort Lauderdale, and then there's always an excuse. Stop the excuses. There could be reasons. Maybe there's a health concern, a real health concern. Maybe there is a catastrophe. Maybe there's a natural disaster. But don't confuse reasons with excuses. And don't use excuses when you really don't have any. And I know that sounds a little bit harsh. So I want to take you through this a little bit because I think this is a really good growth plan. And for the business success and accountability, every single month, map out your top 5 goals. If you have a team, and this is what corporate folks do oftentimes not so great. So I ask my senior people, I say, wouldn't it be great if your teams knew exactly what your top 5 goals were for the month? And then if they put their efforts toward you achieving your top 5 goals of the month. Wouldn't that be clever? And they said, yeah, how do we do that? I said, well, it starts with you identifying your top 5 goals. And then the second step there is you communicate those top 5 goals to your team. Oh, and then what do you want to do more of this month? And what do you want to do less of this month? And then this month, what do you resolve to delegate or outsource because you don't need to do it? And then this month, what are you going to streamline to make it easier for people to get done what you need them to get done, whether they're clients or employees? And then what are you going to complete this month? So, interactive portion of today's program. What is a good business goal for you? Let's think about that for a second. What's a good business goal?
Set a number of potential clients to contact.
Good. Make a list of potential clients to contact. Good. What's a good goal?
Planning out recipes and stuff like that, and finding out what people want to cook.
Good. And how are you going to do that?
Research.
How?
Internet, polling, stuff like that.
Super. Fantastic. This is where online is great for this. You say, if I were to do a video on this, this, or this, which one would you like best? And have people vote on it. Easy peasy. Because if you start thinking about, here's the problem. You have a million things you can do.
Right.
And part of your brain goes, oh, but. And it's just pick one. And so give people a choice of 3, and then choose that. This is like you asking your bride, hey baby, what do you want for dinner? And she says, I don't know. I'm guessing you've had this conversation. And so you say, baby, do you feel like lamb or fish tonight? And she says, I would like lamb. You say, okay. Boom, there you go. Give people a choice of 3 and have them pick. That is all. And for you especially, ask people, just say, is there another thing that I would do that you could easily do? Is there something you've always wanted to learn how to make at home that I could show you how to do, that a professional chef could walk you through it and you could wow your family. You could wow your boyfriend or girlfriend. You could delight your guests and have them come up with this. And then say, do you ever struggle with menu planning because you're trying to incorporate more of fill in the blank, and they fill in the blank. I'm trying to incorporate more broccoli. Now, I know green beans got a former president into a lot of trouble. I like green beans. I don't really care for broccoli, but broccoli is good for me. Apparently my body likes it when I eat broccoli. So I'm constantly trying to eat more broccoli. The problem is I don't really like broccoli. So you could have a video, how to eat more broccoli when you don't particularly like broccoli, how to eat more Brussels sprouts when you don't really like Brussels sprouts. I mean, things like that, like take a contrarian twist on it. Okay? What's another good goal?
Increase the amount of engagement I'm getting on LinkedIn.
Increase, okay, also Richard Bliss. Yes, increase the amount of engagement on LinkedIn. His algorithm on LinkedIn, most of us are doing LinkedIn 100% wrong. 100% wrong. Richard Bliss is the guy. I just saw him speak. I sat there and I was like, oh, a program on LinkedIn, all right. And I was a little cocky about it, and I was wrong. I sat there and went, I sent a note to my person as we were doing this. I was like, we are doing everything wrong and everything has to change. What's a good goal for you?
In my industry, premium goals, like how much premium will take in by a certain date.
Premium goals, and what does that actually, so specifically, what does that look like?
So like how much business we write.
Okay, so you need to write more business. So a good goal would be, for this month, I will write X number of dollars of business. Okay, make it very specific. Okay, good. What's a good goal?
The follow-up plan and the budget for it, setting it out so that I have it in place and ready to go, and then delegate part of that.
Yes, good, good. What's a good goal? How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
I'm so happy to see you.
Thank you. My goal is to take some of the library resources, which, as everybody should know, is free to you, and teach them how to use a particular database because they're not utilizing it to the best advantage.
Correct. And most people aren't going into the library to use it. No.
Not to.
Right. So.
Credit card, use it over the internet.
Right. So they need a video showing them how to do that. They know it exists. They just don't know how to take those first steps. So it would be 7 ways to get the business research that you need in your business from home and in less than 10 minutes. Like very specific. And then the second page of this, and you're going to do this every single month, because this is what holds you accountable. This month, what am I going to resolve? What's that nagging thing that is just holding over your head that either it's sitting on your desk and you say, I'm going to get to it someday, getting to it. So I grew up in Texas, so there's getting to it. Sometimes we just need to throw it away. That might be it. So what are we going to resolve? And then here's such a good one. What 3 people this month am I going to contact and ask for advice? Now, when you call somebody for advice, 3 things happen. First, you are reaching out to people who know something. You are strengthening a connection, and you are making them feel important by asking for their advice, but also respect their time. Hey, Terry, can I get 5 minutes on the phone with you? And I promise just 5 minutes. I'm oftentimes, I'll say 7 minutes because it's a weird number and people remember 7 minutes. I'm like, and I'm serious. We will start talking. I promise I will be finished within 7 minutes. And people like that because, again, they don't want to get dragged into a 3-hour conversation. It's like Gilligan's Island that never ended. Call 3 people for advice. Now, what that also does for you is they say, oh, I didn't know you were doing cooking videos. Wow, that's really cool. And one of their questions is going to be, so how can I help you? And you need to have an answer. So ask them, say, I don't know, or this is what I'm thinking, but do you have any thoughts for me? This is where a lot of times if you're networking for a job, you don't ask people for a job, you ask them for advice. But you don't ask them for a job. That happens later. And then reach out to these potential decision makers. These are your potential clients. And this is you calling people just to go, hey, how are things? I wanted to send you this, but I want to make sure it would be okay if I did. And they're like, well, you're not selling it to me? No, I just want to send it to you. Wait, what? Oh, yeah, I'd like that. People are not used to that, so reach out to that. And then on a scale of 1 to 5, grade the month. How good was the month? Maybe it was fabulous, maybe it was okay, maybe it was meh, or maybe it was terrible. So sometimes people say it was okay. I go, really? So what could have made this month better? People start thinking, they go, oh, yeah, I guess it was actually a pretty fabulous month. Because sometimes our brain doesn't acknowledge the good, and we have to remind our brain about the good. And then at the end of every month, I ask you to think about the 3 things you're grateful for. There's a 5-minute gratitude journal out there, and I love it. I think it's fantastic. And every single day, if you work through the gratitude journal, it strengthens the synaptic process in your brain. So think about your thoughts having to jump over a river. So this is how the synapses cross over. And what you do when you practice gratitude is it pushes the banks of the river closer together. And it allows people to jump over the river faster. It makes your brain healthier by practicing gratitude every day. But then here's the big kicker. What'd you learn this month? What did you learn? Or what did you learn about? Or what was good for you? And if you get to the end of the month and you can't figure that out, it's time to make one of those phone calls. It's time to take some action. Because many of my business leaders get stagnant and they don't realize they're stagnant. And then they wonder why they're losing market share to other people. And this is why. What did we learn this month? So just for you, this is this productivity sheet that I use every single day. Every single day. And if it's the end of the day and I haven't done something, guess what? I don't get to go out of the office. We have to get these things done. We plan the day. Now, this doesn't mean that you overload the day and plan 42 hours in an 8-hour day. That's just bad planning. And that's what the weekly planner is for. The weekly planner sets out what you need. Now, here is the anti-procrastination device. This is the magic, the time in minutes. So let's say you have a client you haven't talked to them in 6 months, you know you should, it's a lapsed member, you need to call them, you're like, oh, I don't know if they want to hear from, like we start to go through all those things in our head. Fine. For many of us, we procrastinate because we over-assign the importance as well as the time commitment. So once you say, this phone call is going to take, on the low side, 1.5 minutes, on the high side, 10 minutes. And once you say time in minutes, 10 minutes, all of a sudden you're like, all right, I'm just going to do that. It breaks it down from the impossible to something that's very manageable. This is the magic thing. And then put down due dates and the priorities. And if you get to the end of the month and you've got a lot of low priorities that frankly you didn't get to, maybe they didn't need to get done at all. Maybe this is not something you need to worry about. So I do want to share with you this great resource. It is called your Leader's Blind Spot Assessment. The Leader's Blind Spot Assessment was created, it took me a couple years to create this, for my CEOs who have a very limited amount of spare time, but they also need a mirror to show them what they need to be doing a little bit better. They're already very strong in so many areas. I should just add that the average CEO today is 7 to 8 years older than they were 20 years ago. And the reason isn't just because, oh, people got older. There's that. But the answer is because the average CEO today has to know more about regulations in their industry, they have to know more about personnel laws, and they have to know more about the finances. And it simply takes time. As a result, some of these folks get into a leadership position and they're struggling. So I'd like to invite you to go here. This is what it's going to look like. It's based on the science of DISC, but it is not DISC. We call it CAMP. It's your competitor, analyzer, motivator, or peacemaker. So let's get to it. So can you see how if you are trying to present a marketing idea to somebody, and let's say they're an analyzer, and you're a motivator or an energizer, so you come in with all the enthusiasm and all the ideas and all that, and they want the data. But your thing is, no, let's get the big picture and then we'll work through the data. All of a sudden you got to disconnect. Can you see how that could be the case? Sometimes my analyzers struggle because they'll hear a great idea and they're the first ones. You want the analyzers in your life because they're the ones who go, no, we don't have the budget for this. Yes, it's a great idea, but Analyzers tend to be great in the operations world because they will tell you all the reasons why you can't do things. But they can also do the math, and they're the ones who are persuaded by the numbers. So we need those people in our life too. But we also need those energizers and motivators who are going to show up and they make the party happen. When you're not there, the party doesn't happen. They're like, oh good, Terry's here. She was 15 minutes late, so we just stood there waiting for Terry, waiting for Terry. Okay, Terry's here. It's just nice to know what you're dealing with. Can you see how this might be beneficial in the workplace? Super. I want to talk a little bit about setting goals because I talked about outlining your top 5 goals. And then as soon as we did the goals, some of you were thinking, but I can't because. I can't increase my sales numbers because. I can't get my numbers written because. So here's the issue there. Figure out what your goal is. Use one of these pages for each specific goal. And then brainstorm on the obstacles where your brain naturally goes. I can't do this because fill in the blank. I can't increase those numbers because I'm still new to the area. I'm new to the business. I don't have the contact. Whatever your obstacles are. And then you brainstorm on the solutions. And here's why. When you brainstorm on the solutions, your brain automatically says, oh, see, we like that better. But if you don't let it go to the solutions, you don't push it over here, it's going to stay on the obstacles, and your brain is going to stay there. It's going to say, well, I wanted to increase my sales numbers, but I couldn't because. And then it gives you those excuses. Your brain, if you let it, will be lazy for you. And you've taught it to be lazy by rationalizing why you can't. So brainstorm on the solutions. And once you have the solutions, create action steps for each one of those solutions. It's a math game. It's a numbers game. If you're trying to increase sales, look at the numbers. So I know what the numbers are for me. In an audience of 1,000, for example, there might be 100 people who say, I would like Mary for my organization. Of those 100 people, maybe 10% are decision makers. Now I'm down to 10. Maybe those 10 decision makers now have to sell it to their team. So now we might be down to 2. That's what the numbers look like. So I know those numbers. So it's just like Vegas odds. You got to play the odds. So if you know it's going to take 100 sales calls every single month, then you need to go home and start making sales calls. Oh, and my secret for this? Do you all know about Slide Dial? Because let's face it, we want to have contact with people, but sometimes we don't want to talk to them. There is an app called Slide Dial. And what this does is it goes, especially if you've got, like let's say Lola is going to reach out to every single one of her members, but she don't want to talk to all of them. And they don't always want to talk to her either. But she's got it, but she feels like, I'm just messing with Lola. But let's say she knows she's got to make all these phone calls. So she's going to use Slide Dial. Slide Dial bypasses their option of picking up the phone. It goes directly to their voicemail. And they're like, oh, I missed a call from Lola. I wonder how that happened. I didn't hear it ring. Because she slide dialed them. And then she goes, hey, Mary, this is Lola. I just want to give you an update about what we're doing. Just 15 seconds. Here's our next meeting. Just want to make sure you're doing okay. Here's my number. Want to make sure you got my contact information. Boom. Perfect for you. Slide dial. You get all the credit for making the call with a whole lot less work and less conversation. And then now, obviously, if it's a great client and you need that human touch, that conversation, you want a response from them, you want a certain person. But if you are trying to just do outreach and make sure they got something or make that contact, slide dial, I know. All right, questions on this? And here's due dates, because we have to have due dates. Some of you have employees, and I want to touch on this for a second because the employee engagement piece is really important. And by employee engagement, you can also translate this into client engagement. So for the 5-minute employee engagement, it starts with a series of questions. And you can turn it to you having the conversation with your client. You know, what do you need from me? Where can I, as a real estate agent, as an insurance agent, as your travel agent, where can I take some of the work off your plate? If I could save you 3 to 5 hours a week, would that be helpful if it didn't cost you more than $10? Those are the kinds of things. Are there any specific projects that you're doing that I could help you with? Do you want more, would you like help with something that I have a strong aptitude for, specifically this and this and this? Did you know that my company right now has branched into this, and this is how we are saving our clients on average X amount of dollars per month? We are saving the average luxury travel X amount of dollars. We're saving the average business travel X amount of dollars and time. And then figure out what people need from you. So this is for you especially. over here. What do people want more training on, or more information, or more, here's the instructional videos. And what would you like to learn next? Every time you do something, the next question should be, and what would you like to learn next? And they will not know because they do not want the options. Again, give them 3 options. What do they need next from you? And is there anything else you'd like to learn about, or anybody else here you'd like to learn from? And that is how you can create a more engaged profile as well as audience by using that. Now, also in the vault that you're getting the ebook called Generate Ideas, Focus on Solutions, and Be Productive. And that very gently walks people through some steps on, if you're wasting time at work, how to get over that. And then the resiliency ebook as well, the 7 skills to bouncing back after tough times. My buddy Dan Burris has he'll do this on stage. I won't do this, I'm not brave enough. But he uses a big rubber ball and he throws it really hard at the ground. Of course, it bounces back higher. Remember dodgeball? Who knew that could be banned because it was dangerous? I know. And then he'll take a glass ball and he'll drop it. And it shatters, of course. So I'm not brave enough to do that, and my meeting planners would not be happy. But he says, if we're delicate, we're not going to bounce. And this is where a lot of people, I think, are struggling. We need the resiliency piece. We need to help people bounce. And bouncing, being resilient, doesn't come from me cheerleading, going, you can do it. It comes from you doing it and figuring out that you can do it. And then that builds the confidence factor. So when you are faced with it the next time, you go, yeah, I already did this. Anybody here ever run a marathon? Yeah. First marathon, you're thinking, I can't do this. And you get into it and you're going, I was right. I cannot do this. This is awful darn far. And I kept looking for that little ice cream truck thing that would drive around and go, oh, you tired over there? Just hop in the back of the truck. Here we go. Well, that didn't happen. I mean, you're like, really? The only way to get back? Because it's a big circle. The only way to get back is really these little feet? Oh gosh, it's harder than you think. And then, I don't know how you were, but I didn't train for mine because I was relying on my youth and stamina and military prowess. Yeah, that was a terrible idea. And all of a sudden you realize the only way to finish this is to finish this. And all of a sudden your brain goes, oh no. We go through those 4 stages, those first 4 stages. Oh no, I can't do it. Your brain goes, I can't do it. And they go, I really can't finish this. And then the other part of your brain goes, there's no ice cream truck. You got to finish this. And your brain goes, oh, well then I better keep going. And then you finish it, and it's only the first marathon that's hard, because now you know you can do it. And what you figured out that first marathon, and it's a mind game. It's all about your brain telling you whether or not you can do it or not. And then once you do the first one, you're like, oh, now I know I can do it. Now I don't have to train at all. I'll just drink a beer the whole first half. That'll be great. Not, by the way, recommended. Also, I'd never had Gatorade before in my life. Yeah, during a marathon is not the time to try Gatorade. Bad idea. But we have to learn the bounce, and we have to develop the confidence that comes in the bounce. So what do we do? Well, as I started talking to you, we got to watch our investments, our business investments, as well as our capital investments, our personal investments, our 401ks, our IRAs, our set plans. We have to make sure that we're investing in the things that make the most sense to us. Please, please, please know your profits and losses. It's the number one thing when I go into a company. I say, I ask the boss, I say, so where's your, what do your profits and losses look like? And if they say, hang on, let me call, my accountant, my comptroller, I'm like, we got a problem right now. You should know this. You should know this every single day. You got to know the numbers. You must know the numbers. And then have solid business practices so that when other people think about you, they know what they're referring. They know what that looks like. They know that your business practices are going to be solid, and help other people see that. Over-communicate, over-communicate, and over-communicate. So I have, my younger sister was in the Air Force for 20 years on active duty. She married a Navy maintenance guy. He was on active duty for 7 years, and then he went in the reserves to follow her around. My older brother was a 53 pilot. He was in for 26 years. He married a naval officer. My husband was a force recon guy. My younger brother was a Navy pilot. He married a school teacher. We're all very confused by her. So confused by her. And when the 4 of us text, we are fine with short, choppy sentences. I know we have a lot of military and military-affiliated people here today. We talk in short, choppy sentences. I always like to know who the military people are in my audience because I know I can be very direct with them. There's a certain basis where I know I can take certain, I'll say liberties, where I can say, Jay, I know you taught the Air Force Academy, so I know you and I have that shared thing, and I know I can have this communication with you, and then I'm not worried. We're looking for shared connections. But it also does change how I communicate with people. If they were military, I know there's a certain thing I can do. Now with my siblings, we all text each other in short, choppy sentences. So driving in here today, my mom went in the hospital a couple nights ago. And I am kind of the point of contact for certain things. One of them happens to be medical. So on the way in here today, I said, I'm going to be at a program and I will be out of pocket. I need one of you to step up, call mom, figure out what's going on today so that I can take action after 1 o'clock my time. Now, I didn't say, will one of you kindly step up and please call our mother who gave birth to us because it's the right thing to do. No. I'm like, no, I'm out of pocket. One of y'all do this. My sister goes, yep, on the phone now. Boom. Like, we're very directive with each other because we can be. And the reason we can be is because we already have the trust and the understanding and the love. So we don't need to go, hey, if it's not too much trouble and if you don't mind doing this and if it's not too much effort and could you please do this because I'm going to be like all the We can be very direct. But you can't always be direct if you don't have that level of understanding. So when you are tasking people, and this is a problem sometimes in marriages. Yeah, it's good. That's what he was thinking. He starts laughing. He goes, yep, I've done that. If you don't have that, sometimes there can be miscommunications. So how many of us have ever been in a relatively, let's just call it a mostly monogamous, occasionally romantic relationship with another person? Who's been married, dated, something? Yes. Have you ever had a misunderstanding? Yes. Well, you did because you were wrong, of course. Thank you for playing. When you have high degrees of trust and understanding, you can sometimes take communication shortcuts. But with other people, there's a higher risk of being misunderstood, misperceived, or something taken out of context or where you did not mean. So with my siblings, I don't have to worry about that. Do we still sometimes irritate each other? Oh, you bet. Oh, you bet. They'll tell me I'm overbearing, irritating, obnoxious, and bossy. And I'll go, yeah, okay.
What's your point?
Yeah, I'll own that. And I'll come back and I'll say, and you're all that too. And they go, yep, okay. Like, we get that. And nobody takes offense at these things. If you're going to be good at one leadership trait in business, be good at leadership. Be good at communication. Your leadership will transcend through your communication. Be great at communication. It is the one thing that overrides a lot of the other mistakes. So if you're just great at communicating with your clients, your members, your team, it will override a lot of other things. You don't have to be great at everything, but you do have to be great at communication. And be a partner. Look to be a solutions-provided partner at home and at work. How am I solving these problems? And what does that look like? Make sure your people understand your direction. I took this picture. I said, girls, look at mommy. This is what I got. Girls, look at mommy. Do people understand your direction and do they know where you're going to go? And again, you can be great at communication, but also be great at appreciation. This was Oprah's gift. She let everybody in her audiences feel, and when you're an engineer, this is a hard word, feelings, all the feelings, oh, so hard. She made everybody feel as though she appreciated them being there, and she let them know that. So how, again, do we show appreciation? And that would be my final point for you today.